You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello and welcome to the 42 Cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. As always, I am your host Nathan, and we have another great episode lined up for you where we're going to talk about Star Trek Section 31. Before we do that, let's meet our cast for this week. So, starting off, she is my co-host on all things Trek, and that is my friend Stephanie. How are you doing, Stephanie?
Hello! I am the random naked Andorian today.
Which is kind of odd for anyone listening to this who doesn't see that that's what you named yourself on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. So how have things been going for you, Stephanie?
Been going okay. I'm just crossing my fingers that I don't have the flu brewing in me, because it is currently active in my household, but I'm holding in there right now. Otherwise,
I know it's not a cure-all, but have you had your flu shot this year?
You know, go figure. This year we got our COVID shots, but not our flu shots. When the last couple of years we've gotten them both together. Mm-hmm. Like one in one arm, the other in the other. But this year we got our COVID shots a little bit earlier than normal. And yeah, we intended to get our flu shots when it was a little bit closer to flu season, and we just didn't. So, of course, one of us got the flu. Hopefully only one of us.
Right, yeah. So, yes. Well, hopefully you're free of it, but, yeah, I mean, it's, you know.
No blue flu.
Right. Yeah, hopefully you're free of it, but, you know, it is the flu, so, you know, even if you do get it, hopefully it won't last too long, so.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Tim's been stuck in bed for 2 days now with a fever of 100.5, so.
Yeah, it's never fun.
Been making lots of chicken soup.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think you told me before that you never watched Batman the Animated Series, or you didn't see much of it when you were little, but whenever anyone talks about like having a cold or whatever, I always think of the episode with Mr. Freeze where he like actually literally defeats him with a thing of chicken soup because it cracks it cracks the glass thing that his head is in because the heat and the cold between them, it cracks it, and he says,
oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
The only way to fight a cold.
Yeah, I like, what is it, Batman Beyond, but I never watched Batman the Animated Series. Oh no.
Yeah. You're a bit younger than I am too, so you were fairly young when it first started, even though it did run for a long time. But yeah, you were pretty young when it first started. All right. Well, it's good to have you on the show, Stephanie.
Hello, good to be back.
All right. Next up, he is visiting us from our sister show on the Earth Station 1 network, and that is Keith from Earth Station Trek. How are you doing, Keith?
Pretty good. I just finished my second viewing of Section 31. I watched it when it premiered, so I watched it again today, took some notes. Didn't change a lot.
Right. Yeah. And some people might feel like that like goes against the Geneva Convention, but
yeah. Yeah, this will be interesting. Yeah, things have been going well. Been catching up at work, got a couple of projects that are super far behind, so been doing some stuff there, and then trying to catch up on other stuff like completely crossing the streams. Finished the Dragon Prince series on Netflix, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And catching up. But as you know, I'm a huge movie buff, so I keep jumping between like watching the 1920s silent movie one night, and then people are like, oh, dude, Stranger Things. Like, I've never seen Stranger Things. Well, why not? They're like, yeah, but have you seen The Passion of Joan of Arc from like 1923? No, I'm watching Disney Plus. So I'm still in that thing.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, it's good to have you back on the show, Keith.
Yeah, good to be here. Looking forward to it.
All right. Next up, he is the guy I met playing D&D when he was a humanoid orca, and that is my friend Nate. How are you doing, Nate?
Oh, doing great. Just living one moment to the next. Just trying to take it day by day. Living in the moment.
You've grown out the facial hair a little bit since the last time I saw you.
This is what happens when you groom your beard. You can actually straighten it.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a little beard straightener.
I have to shave once every 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
You're one of those.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
My best friend in high school, and, I still keep up with him. He's like that, like where it's like just no facial hair, like it just comes very, very slowly. Yep.
Yeah, that's me.
I wish I didn't have to have a beard, but unfortunately, at the age of 46, I still look like a 12-year-old boy when I don't have a beard. So it is a social necessity to be taken seriously in the world.
Live a little longer. You'll love it when people underestimate your age.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a little left out without the facial hair here.
And there, you can, that's right.
It's a dwarf woman.
Yeah. Stephanie has wrapped her hair around her face to give herself a beard.
Yes.
I certainly can't do that.
Cheery little bottom.
All right, it's good to have you back on the show, Nate.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
All right, and finally, you already heard his voice. He is someone that I met from Chicago TARDIS, but he's here to talk about Star Trek with us today, and that is Assad. How are you doing, Assad?
Pretty good. I was at Gallifrey 1 last weekend, so that was super fun, apart from the announcement that they are ending in 3 years, so that was a bit of a bummer. So they're working on something to replace it, but they have put an end date on Gallifrey 1 itself.
Oh, is Sean? Does Sean is he not able to run it anymore or something, or is he?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty much.
Okay, so yeah, he'll probably turn it over to somebody else, and they'll call it something different. But yeah.
Okay. So, and otherwise all well. I moderated a panel on Galaxy Quest, so that was like my third Galaxy Quest panel in the last 6 months, and
nice. Hopefully,
I've submitted it for Convergence in Minneapolis as well. So if I can get onto that, that'll probably be it.
Well, this is the year to talk about it.
Yes.
25th anniversary of Galaxy Quest.
Yep.
Yep, it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's
still worth rewatching all the time.
Yeah, it's a great movie to talk about, which might be a counterpoint to today's discussion. So.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you've been able to talk about Galaxy Quest. It's good to have you on the show, Assad.
It's good to be back.
So for those who regularly listen to the show, you know that normally we'll have a 5-minute controversy here, but with 4 guests, we just don't have the time. So instead of a 5-minute controversy, we're just going to go straight into a promo for another FIAM podcast, and then we'll come back to talk about Section 31.
Hi, this is the ghost of Gilbert Godfrey.
And this is the ghost of the Queen of England.
And you should tune into our new podcast, Ghosts on Toast.
That's right, Ghosts on Toast.
We're going to talk about jams, jellies, butters. What about English muffins?
I don't know. Is that technically toast? I never figured. I mean, I'm English. I should know.
So listen to that podcast and not Lukeski's Animation and Stuff podcast on the ESO network.
No, under no circumstances. Absolutely none.
No!
No!
And we're back. And like we mentioned, we're talking about Star Trek Section 31. Now, I just want to start with a little bit of a preamble here, because when I started the 42 cast, Stephanie and I had long known each other before I started recording the show, and she and I talked about the fact that whenever we talked about a Star Trek topic, I would have Stephanie on, and because Star Trek is something that is so near and dear to my heart, I wanted to talk about everything Star Trek. We've talked about the original series, Next Generation, DS9. We talked about all the new Trek shows, the seasons of those as they've come out, and so when I heard that there was going to be originally a Section 31 series. I was like, okay, this is going to be another thing that we're going to cover. And then, of course, the news came that, with Michelle Yeoh's schedule being so, packed and whatever, she can't commit to a series anymore. But they'll do a movie. And it's like, okay, well, we'll talk about this movie. And like I say, I watch anything that's Star Trek. There have been highs, there have been lows, but I've been able to say something nice about everything that has come out for Star Trek. And so the reason I'm starting with this preamble is because of the fact that I'm not sure that I can say anything nice about Section 31.
I love it.
We discovered that naked Andorians look like Ken dolls.
Oh boy, this is fun.
So I'm hoping that since all of you wanted to be on this episode, that somebody's going to give me this is what you should enjoy about this. But...
Nathan, to be perfectly fair, I was very close to claiming that I had the flu myself today. Because yeah.
Yeah, Stephanie's obligated to be on this episode also. I'm hoping that one of the rest of you three can bring
I was
something.
like, even if I try claiming I'm sick and can't do this, he's just gonna reschedule it, and I'm doomed either way. So yeah, let's.
So Stephanie, I take it then that you kind of felt the same way that I did when you watched it.
As soon as each plot element was established, I had the entire movie figured out.
Yeah. I called it when they did the the flashback scene.
Yeah.
I pretty much called most of it at that point. Yeah.
This was basically 95 minutes of tropes and cliches, just one after another, making it entirely predictable. I'm serious. I was 15 minutes into the movie and I already had the ending called, and I was very disappointed that I was accurate. I am not the king of foresight or whatever I used to call you.
Yes. So that joke, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a regular on another podcast called Sean Castic that my friend Sean ran, and he dubbed me the king of forethought because my predictions came right more often than not, and so that is, that is my title from that show.
That's the god. That's the Greek god Prometheus. Was also his aspect was forethought. He didn't have the greatest end, however.
All right, so yeah, this high level, what did you think of the movie overall? Assad, what did you think of the movie overall?
It was a movie.
Was it though? Hold on.
It had a beginning, middle, and end.
Movie.
Yeah. It had actors. It had things happen. It wasn't anything particularly good. I mean, I hate to say anything like, oh, this is not what a Star Trek movie is supposed to be like, because all the Star Trek movies have been pretty different from each other. But it just was not a particularly good movie. It was super, super average, typical, sort of Netflix. If anything, it reminded me, I don't know, what was that movie with The Rock and on Netflix? But it just was like one of those some bad Netflix movie.
Like a sci-fi movie of the week?
Bad. Yeah. Those were often a lot better and much less frenetic.
That's true. That's an insult to sci-fi movies.
Yeah, not as good
it's an
as
insult to Sharknado.
but better story, yeah.
So I mean, maybe we'll come up with some more positives, but overall I was not too happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, when we talk about Star Trek movies, it's like, yes, I feel like they have varied quite a bit, but they've all sort of veered more towards the action adventure trope and less
Oh,
as
sure,
sort of like
sure.
the cerebral scientific
Right.
kind of, Star Trek
Correct.
series and tend towards more of a cerebral bent. Star Trek movies tend towards more just a action adventure and space
Right.
bent. So from that standpoint, I'm not going to fault this because they definitely went for the action adventure and space bent, but the execution
Yeah.
is where I'm gonna go on this because even Star Trek Five, which I think most people rate as the worst Star Trek film,
Not anymore.
but yeah, I feel like I can say some nice things about Star Trek Five. There are things that I do like about it. It's
Well,
just
one of the benefits that a lot of the Star Trek movies have is that you know these characters, you like these characters. At least their interplay amongst each other works, even if a
Right.
lot of the rest of the plot doesn't.
Oh yeah.
But over
Right.
here, they didn't even bring back Ash Tyler, who was like the only other sort of person I guess, that was supposed to be in Section 31. So,
yeah, he and
and
I actually in 2019 he was at Dragon Con and I happened to be at Dragon Con that year and he and I talked about that for a little bit at his table and he was
Wow.
really excited to come do Section 31 whenever, like that went off the ground. But of course, COVID derailed and delayed everything and then Michelle,
right.
Everything Everywhere All at Once came out and suddenly Michelle Yeoh became one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood. And that then they retooled it. They said there was an article I read where they said that they had 11 different scripts from the
Wow.
time when this started as a pilot episode to when this movie, that it morphed from being a pilot episode to a movie and that was the 11th script and they said only one character and they didn't say who that was, but only one character remained from besides Georgiou remained
I'm gonna
from
say Georgiou.
right, yeah, from their original idea to this one. So I want to know what that original pilot script was because I bet it was better than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
sure it was.
one thing that was interesting, and I don't know because I also rewatched most of it, so that things were a little fresher. I don't know what Keith's experience was, but it was not in the Star Trek section of Paramount Plus. I had to look for it separately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had to
I had a
search
hard
for it.
Same here. It was weird. And I was like,
hiding
you're
it.
making
They're
me
hiding
search for this? Yeah, I had to search for it too. Yeah.
Well, when it first came out, though, it popped up right away on
Yes,
Paramount Plus.
it
Like
did.
it was like, oh, watch this thing. But yeah, yeah,
As a
it
new release,
disappeared.
it popped up right in the top of
Yeah,
the.
same
Yeah,
here.
the algorithm is canceling it.
Right, exactly. They're just taking out the brooms and they're just sweeping it under the rug. Like we didn't make a direct to streaming Star Trek movie.
What are you talking about?
Right. All right. So yeah, Nate, what were your overall thoughts of the movie?
I think just overall, my thoughts about this movie and the Flash movie are very similar. In that I could see what they tried to do. If you described the premise of the movie to me, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds great. When they said, we're going to do the Flash movie and it's going to start with Flashpoint, and I was like, well, that's I feel like you should do that as the third movie, but okay, great. Flashpoint is an amazing story. Show me what you got. And then they were like, okay, we're going to do Star Trek, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy meets, Mission Impossible, meets Ocean 11. And I'm like, I love all those movies. That's great. Let's, do a spy action thriller heist movie with, questionable heroes, And I was like, okay, sure. I mean, that's not really the theme or the thesis of Star Trek, but we know these types of characters exist and they're doing stuff. So sure, show me what they're doing in a post-scarcity utopia. Okay. Yeah, that's great. That sounds interesting. And then they just executed it every step of the way. They just made the wrong choice every time they came to a place like we could go more towards Star Trek or just to veer way to the left and not do Star Trek at all. And they're like, let's not do Star Trek at all. And it didn't feel like a Star Trek movie. They just made a movie that had Star Trek character names in it. Like the nomenclature was there, but it wasn't made with the intent of being a Star Trek movie. And it was just frustrating because it's the first Star Trek movie we've had in a decade? And they blew it. They just blew it. They had
not quite a decade because I mean Star Trek
9 years.
Star Trek Beyond was like I think 2017. I want to say maybe 2016.
Think
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's
Probably
that'd
16.
be 8 or 9 years.
Right.
Was the
So
anniversary
yeah,
movie, right?
I mean, yeah. So and they had an opportunity to do something and they just blew it, and it's frustrating. That's what makes me upset is that they they had an amazing actress and they just wasted her on screen.
Yeah, I mean, even on the petty level of like, we're looking at the ships, and Beth and I are like, these don't look like Star Trek ship designs. It's one of those things where it's just
Oh,
like,
I know. I was confused about what time I was in the Star Trek
we're
timeline.
gonna get
I
to
had to
that. We're gonna
Google
get
it.
to that.
I had to Google it, but I was confused when I'm watching it. I was like, well, I remember in the Star Trek Discovery, they sent her off into some unknown space and time, and then we're supposed to know, and they give me a star date, and I'm not as much of a Star Trek nerd that if you show me a star date, I know exactly where can
Yeah.
pinpoint in the
I think
timeline where
most
it
people
is.
aren't, even if they're Star
And
Trek
so I
fans,
thought
they're
they
not, they
were.
don't know the star dates. Yes.
I thought they were in the far future Star Trek where Discovery ends up in season 3 or season 4 when they were in the far, far future. I thought they were in far, far future because all the technology looked like far, far future. But apparently it was 10 years after Next Generation. So, I
Yeah.
mean, we're 50
Yeah,
years
I
before
mean,
Next
yeah, we're
Generation.
getting,
But
yeah, I mean,
we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
confusing.
generally,
I was just displaced in time in Star Trek and I didn't understand what was going on.
yeah, generally I'm unhappy. One element that I'm unhappy with New Trek across the board is that they're not really doing a good job, in my opinion, of showing the progression of technology between time periods.
There's
It
no
feels like
style
to me
guide
that
to say
they
this is this period, this is that period,
right,
and
Right.
they need to
exactly.
do that. Like,
Yeah, it feels to me like it's really homogenous, and it's like,
mhm.
and to me, it's not a very hard thing to do, but they want their shows to all have a look that's sort of similar, I think, and because of that, they're kind of making things in the past look way too advanced, and slick like the
Yeah,
stuff in the future. And I'm like, but there should be more of a progression, right? It shouldn't look as slick as the
yeah.
stuff later. But yeah, anyway, again, it's a nit. But as a friend of mine said to me recently, if you're noticing those nits, that speaks to something greater wrong because you have the
Yeah, I
time to
wasn't
worry
caught up
about
in the
that stuff.
story or the dialogue or
Right.
anything. Like, I wasn't captivated by other parts. It means everything else was falling down, and all I could see was the nits.
Mm. Keith, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about the movie?
Yeah, I think I agree. And a question I have, which I guess we can talk about a little bit later, is do you like the concept of Section 31 in the first place? I had conversations with some
That's
other
going to be my
folks.
next question.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I've reviewed this on our Earth Station Trek podcast, and I've had conversations with friends online and stuff. And a lot of people, some people are just like, well, I don't really care about execution. Section 31 shouldn't exist in Roddenberry's universe. End of story. But that didn't take me out of it. But I think what everybody else says was, we over in our Earth Station Trek group, we're writing a book on Star Trek. It's a collection of Star Trek essays, and one of the ones I had was, "What is Star Trek?" Because there's always this debate, about what is Star Trek. I remember years ago I listened to a podcast that was reviewing the seminal episode, "The City on the Edge of Forever." And the podcast host, they loved it. I think, oh, this is awesome. It's great. It's all this. And one guy goes, but it's not Star Trek. And the reason they said it wasn't Star Trek is it didn't have a clear moral message or meaning. It was a great sci-fi story, but it wasn't a Star Trek show. So you always have that debate about what is Star Trek. And I try never to say that something is not Star Trek. It sometimes has more or less of what I like in Star Trek. But this one really did push the line. It almost, like you guys are saying, it really didn't even feel like a bad Star Trek. It didn't feel like action Star Trek. It almost felt like a generic science fiction movie that was not Star Trek. And we'll get into it, Nathan, definitely details. But and then they plugged in Rachel Garrett to make me think it's Star Trek. And like, what? So it just didn't
Well,
work.
and I want to know how many casual fans, even if they've seen yesterday's Enterprise, remember that the captain of the Enterprise C was named Rachel Garrett. How many people remember that detail?
Dude,
That's
I
not
don't
a
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other time was they referenced her. There's a statue of her in Lower Decks, in Star Trek Lower Decks. But yeah, that was a weird character, and I typically dislike obvious overt fan service. And do not let me go down that rabbit hole because I'll start babbling about Captain Kirk and Gorn and tribbles,
Mhm.
and I won't go down that rabbit hole. But that was such an egregious. Let's just pull a name that sounds cool. That
Mhm.
also took me out of the story. Omari Hardwick, a lock. He's really well known for all these other kind of movies like Power or whatever on Showtime.
Amazing actor, a great actor,
Absolutely. But he, I will.
underused.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the weird thing. I can also, there was like maybe two scenes in that entire movie where I thought that's not bad, but it was like he and Michelle Yeoh were in a different movie because both of them are naturally charismatic actors. They hold your
Yeah.
attention, but the material that they were given didn't hold the attention. So when I even halfway paid attention to Omari Hardwick, it's just because Omari Hardwick can hold my attention,
Mhm.
not because of the stuff they were writing for him to do. Um, I rated it a 4.5 the first time I saw it. Let's just say it went down. So, yeah. And I think the biggest sin was not even that it was like really, really bad, but I think someone said, did Assad say it was just meh? I mean, I literally just came away going, I don't even hate it enough to hate it. I just kind of looked at it. It was just there. Yeah, it was just
it
there.
I
reminds
watched
me
it
of the
3 weeks ago, and I had to watch
Uh,
it again this week just to remember what happened.
yeah.
it,
I
it reminds
honestly
us
did not remember. My brain had a PTSD event, and it blocked the whole thing out of the movie, and I couldn't remember any details.
I
Yes.
did not watch it
I've been
until
Googling actors' names and their characters they played all day just so I can remember what happened.
I did not start watching it until 5 hours ago.
Oh.
And I was so upset that Paramount Plus does not have a speed control. I wanted to watch it at like double speed.
At 1.5. Let's get this over with.
yeah. When we were doing the Star Trek films with the original series cast, Stephanie watched the motion picture in double speed.
Wow. Wow.
You know what? I bet it's better.
It is.
I bet it's better. The way that
Yeah.
movie is paced, it moves. That'll
Seriously.
pick it up.
And it wasn't even double speed. It was when there was actual stuff happening. I watched it normal speed, but when it was just the 10-minute pan shots of the Enterprise, I was at like 20 times speed, just however fast my Blu-ray player would let me go.
Yeah, to be fair, the director's cut fixes a lot of that because even the director was like,
Yeah.
I never wanted that stuff to be like that. Like they didn't let me
Yes.
do a final edit of the film. They just rushed it out to theaters and he was mad about it. So like most movies, the director's cut is longer. The motion picture director's cut, yeah, they add some scenes in and stuff, but they take out a lot of that stuff that's just like
Right.
long just shots of stuff in
Right.
space without anything happening. Like, yeah, they cut out a lot of that. So
I've said this. I have been watching Star Trek for decades, and I don't love the Abrams universe, right, for personal reasons. I just don't like the existence of the Abrams universe taking up time, space, and money. I don't hate it. I can recall a few episodes all across. I've been watching over 50 years Star Trek, and the number of things I actively hate is incredibly small. There's a lot I dislike. I don't hate this movie, but I think again, like Assad said, I said it was egregiously boring.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really can't even hate it. It was just like, oh, okay, whatever.
The last time I felt this way about like a major movie was when they came out with the second iteration of the Fantastic Four. Fox did the one that was called Fan Four Stick. And I watched that, and I love the Fantastic Four in comics. I love those characters. But I was like, it's just so bland.
Yeah.
That I can't feel strongly about it one way or the other. And that's a very similar feeling with this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had the same feeling about the Fantastic Four you mentioned as well, because I remember that.
Yeah. Whereas I had feelings about the 2004 one, that they did, there were parts of it I didn't like, but there were parts I did like, and I could talk about it a lot more. But yeah, Fan Four Stick, I was just like, it's just so bland that I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah, and unfortunately with this movie, there's not anything that I say that's like really good that I was like, oh, well, that was kind of interesting. But there's a lot of stuff we'll get into around Georgiou and characterizations that I actively don't like.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off a little bit, and to Keith's point, let's back up a little bit and talk about Section 31 itself. Because I know that a lot of discussions and a lot of, I think, the discourse about this movie even before it came out was about people's feelings about the existence of Section 31 itself. Now, I thought we were going to get a far more serious, hard-hitting movie originally also, or a series originally, and then when there was a movie, okay. But I didn't think that they were going to try to do like sort of like the light comedy action like genre, because I mean
Right.
that undercuts Georgiou like completely anyway. But yeah, so Keith, since you started talking about that a little bit anyway, what are your thoughts on Section 31?
It's very funny because, like I said, I've talked to people, recently who say Section 31 shouldn't exist. End of
Mm-hmm.
story. And I know this for an absolute fact. Gene Roddenberry would have died if he weren't already dead before he let Section 31 exist.
Oh,
That is
even
not
Star
his
Trek
world.
6.
Yes.
When he saw the pre-screening of Star Trek
Mhm.
6, he was like, I'm gonna fight this. They need to pull this movie. They can't release it. And then he died like 2 weeks later. So I
Yes.
mean, he wasn't able to do
Yes.
anything. But like he like actively hated it because it was about corruption within Starfleet, and yeah, like
Uh-huh.
he wouldn't stand for it. So yes, I agree. I don't think he would have liked Section
Yeah.
31.
Now, me personally, I've always felt, I'll just be very personal. I feel about Section 31 Starfleet the way I feel about the United States of America. It's a great country, but it has a lot I don't like about it. And I don't think
Mm.
there's anything wrong with saying that. I think that even in the far future, a Section 30, well, in the far future, some kind of covert ops, black ops organization would still exist in Starfleet. I mean, they would say they don't, it wouldn't, but it has to. When you've got the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order and all these kind of things, the truth of the matter is sometimes you're going to have to play dirty. And if you even think about it, even though they didn't kill anybody, in the original series episode, The Enterprise Incident, where Kirk and Spock were playing the spy game. I mean, Spock even lied. So you're going to have an organization like that. Now, for me, where I did start having questions with Section 31, and Deep Space Nine was introduced, I thought it was cool. And not to do too many spoilers, but in Deep Space Nine, at first you thought it was like one crazy dude and two big hunks of meat that were in this little broom closet. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's it. And then this Deep Space Nine goes on, it's a little bit more than that. You find out some admirals know about it, but it's still this dark, deep covert ops organization. Like, I can buy that. Because maybe the Federation itself would say, no, this should not exist, but they're hiding from even the Federation. Then when you cycle around to Enterprise, it becomes a little even more formal because there's a guy who tells Archer, he talks about how the Federation Charter actually has a section, Section 31. And I forget the exact quote, but it basically says something to the effect that we will do whatever we need to protect the Federation. So they made it a little more formal, but it was still okay. It was still Black Ops. It still made sense. It could still be a cancer in the center of the Federation that people, even in the Federation Starfleet, don't like. They then enter Discovery. And I just got to say it. Now they got ships. I mean, whole starships.
Hey,
they got
and it's
fleets
well
of
known
ships.
if you just got the black badge, then that
Yes.
means you're Section 31. It's not like, oh, this is a secret organization. It's like, oh, I see you've got the black badge. You're a Section 31 agent.
Yes. And I had people
How's that
tell me,
covert?
it makes no sense. I've had people honestly say, well, Keith, in Discovery, they went to the future. They wiped all knowledge of the spore drive. And he said, they basically have wiped Section 31. Well, look, I remember the OSS or the things that preceded the CIA before we had the CIA. And so Section 31 with starships, and as you said, Nathan, they come on, Section 31 with this big black badge. Are you kidding me? So to me, then it destroyed it. I think a Section 31 would exist, and heaven help me for saying this. I think a Section 31 type organization probably should exist in the future of the Federation. I just don't know that we're going to be 200, 300 years in the future where you can be perfect like that. I just don't know if I see that happening. So, but I'm okay with Section 31 until Discovery got a hold of it. And then it went too far for me.
It's like the NSA has its own carrier group.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, yeah, and especially when you're talking about like this is like covert ops like group and whatever, like to like flash your insignia, and it's like, well, you just took away the whole covert like aspect of this. Like, people aren't supposed to know what who you are and what you're doing. Like, so
DS9, it was creepy. Sloan would just appear in Bashir's room when he was asleep. He'd wake up and he's looking at him. Like, what?
Yeah. All right, so Nate, what are your thoughts on Section 31?
I agree mostly with what Keith is saying. I liked Section 31 as it played out in DS9 as sort of the enemy within, because what makes Star Trek is you have this highly moral and ethical government and Starfleet officers always struggling to do the right thing. And then every episode was always about putting them in these ethical questions where they would talk about, should we respect their rights, or should we respect their culture, or should we, impose our own values on them and make them see the light. And Section 31 brought that in during the Cardassian War. Like, how far will Star Trek go to protect itself with an existential threat of the Dominion, and what will they do to keep themselves alive? How far into the darkness will they go to keep themselves in the light? And that was always an interesting question. And I think, in Discovery, not Discovery, DS9, they handled it appropriately. You can watch DS9 to find out how it was handled. But basically, the Starfleet officers, our heroes, our characters that we cared about, stood up to the darkness and said, no, this line, no farther. We're not going to go. We have a line, and this is it. We're not going any farther than that. And they handled it well. But then when you get to, like, Keith was saying, in Discovery, now they're just like their own like subgroup of Starfleet ships and officers. And apparently, in the future, if you wear leather, that makes you Section 31, where everybody else is wearing polyester. So good polyester. Animal skins, bad. That's how you can know how bad they are, because they like killed an animal and made it and wear its skin as a uniform in a post-scarcity future. So it just went too far with Discovery, and then now we're stuck with this movie talking about it, and it just seems pervasive, and now that we've sunk into this deep lore of Star Trek, this secret organization, and we've just shown a bright light on it. I don't feel like it's Star Trek. I don't feel like that's what Star Trek is. As an antagonist to our main characters, sure, but it's the main character and sort of a Suicide Squad kind of way. I don't like it. It just doesn't make sense for the world that Star Trek that I grew up with.
Especially because what you're saying there is I hadn't realized this the first time. I guess I should have. Starfleet officially attached Rachel Garrett to Section 31. So 100%, this ain't a secret. And that's what DS9 was all about. Like they denied its existence, but now it's like, oh no, we're going to. And then she, a couple times she's like, "We're Starfleet. We don't kill people. That's why I'm here." What? It was just wild.
Yeah. And if that's like, I can imagine a scenario where that's what's happening in the world, and like in the world of Star Trek, and that, Section 31 has grown so big and it's overreaching and has its own starships and stuff, and then they have to strike it down and kill the conspiracy, and then just like little pockets of it, one or two guys here and there, right, in the darkness and the shadows, and that's what they end up being. But it's not explained. I mean, they explain everything else. They tell us everything else in this movie without showing us. But this particular time in Star Trek with the politics of Section 31 has kind of left us Trekkies scratching our heads, going like, well, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Stephanie, thoughts on Section 31 as an organization?
I mean, I'm pretty much with Keith and Nate on this. I like the idea as a covert part of Starfleet. When you do put it up against like the Tal Shiar and such, it would be stupid for Starfleet to not have a counterintelligence section within them. But yeah, it was always done more subtly in DS9 and in Enterprise, where it did come across as this small little niche section. And honestly, I don't even remember being as fazed by the larger presence in Discovery, but this movie definitely called attention to it way more than would be ideal for a covert group, and just not in an intriguing way. It's really kind of upsetting that in what could have been a really interesting film based on the espionage behind Starfleet. We had writers who can't handle subtlety or nuance. And as Nate said, they were telling us everything and showing us nothing, which I think is part of why it was so dang predictable. But yeah, the organization itself, while it may not fit with Roddenberry's ideals, I mean, every single admiral in Starfleet has always been corrupted anyways, so it makes sense that there actually would be a established part, but even in this utopian idea, and they should just be that smaller, creepy section that just all of a sudden is popping up behind you like, oh god, there they are. And then they're gone. And this movie could have enhanced that, but it didn't.
Yeah, although as you guys have been talking, I've realized that we've never heard anything about the Klingon covert intelligence, and I actually want a show now based on like the Klingon covert intelligence.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
No, I had that same thought actually while Nate was talking about it too.
Because if they want to do like a humor or a comedy thing, I think that you could do something great around
That's a Lower
Klingons
Decks
trying
episode.
to be like
That's a Lower Decks episode.
Yeah.
Instead of continuing the Lower Decks,
Klingon spies.
Right.
It's like
they need to find the dishonorable ones to join.
Right. Yeah, like it's like the whole D&D thing of like the joke about like the the ogre rogue, and it's like instead of like rolling stealth, he rolls intimidation. He's like, "You don't see me," as he's just like walking by. You know?
I am a tree.
It's something Stephanie said struck me when Stephanie talked about the number of quote unquote badmirals in Star Trek. And the thing is, when you have, to your point, when our protagonists have been confronted by an admiral that's actually doing something immoral or illegal or unethical, immoral, they usually take them down. Like there was Admiral Kennelly in The Next Generation. This was the whole thing with Ensign Rowe, right? He was basically selling arms to terrorists. And Picard took him out. And then Nathan, you mentioned, of course, the movie. The whole point that Roddenberry hated was the whole conspiracy with the Federation and the Romulans and everybody to basically keep the war going or the hatred going. Mm-hmm. And Kirk and them were like, no, this is not who we stand for. But in all those cases, something like Section 31, this level, existing or not, they were against it. And again, I looked at today, I was taking my notes, like, wait, did they just, I was like, well, of course, why is she there? They assigned Rachel Garrett to work with Section 31. The other thing that stunned me is at the beginning, we'll get to the control thing. They were Alpha Squad, I'm old school. They were Alpha Squad. So I'm like, well, what was Beta Squad going to be like? Or what the other one? Because they listed 3 squads. This was the best of the squads in Section 31. And to Stephanie's point about covertness, they basically do the old school thing. They meet in the middle of a bar. They have a gunfight in the middle of I mean, seriously, this is the best? Wow.
Can you imagine Sloan working with any of these jokers other than maybe Alok? Alok, maybe he could work with, but I can't see him working with any of the others.
That's a good point with Sloan.
Yeah, I felt like the only real agent, like secret agent.
Well, to be fair, though, I am a huge fan of the Bond franchise, and Bond is horrible if he wants to be secret because he tells everybody his name.
Well,
and,
that's true.
Everyone. People know him on site. Like, oh, Mr. Bond, you know.
Everyone knows how to prepare his martini.
But see, but see, the reason why those films work is because they're so charming.
Yeah.
You know, that you are carried away with it because of the charisma of the lead actor and because of the fun of the scenario that they're presenting you with, right? And so you sort of look past these things where it's like, this isn't like legitimate espionage here. You know, he's not trying to hide his identity or whatever. You know, they ditched that pretty quickly. Like in Dr. No and a few of the early ones, they did try to do some of that stuff. And because they're like, no, people want the big action set pieces and they want like a lot of witty banter and stuff like that. And so, you know, they sort of ditched that with Bond. But so there is a way of doing this where you're not really taking the espionage seriously, but they still didn't do that either in this. Like they didn't do that fun thing either.
I've kind of missed in modern Bond movies that they don't have the war scene anymore with a whole bunch of jumpsuit and minions on one side and either commandos or something on the other side. So.
Yeah, so Assad, though, what are your thoughts on Section 31 as an organization?
I'm going to be one of those that is like totally against. I think they kind of destroy the entire idea of Star Trek. If you watch Inquisition again, which I did recently, I think it's because I don't think there's any issue with having, if you're looking at a utopian future, why not also have a utopian good government?
Spy agency?
Well, we know there's Starfleet intelligence, and we know that even without Section 31, all sorts of shenanigans have happened. I mean, they had the Pegasus, they do espionage missions. You had Chain of Command, you had them trying to steal the Romulan cloaking device. So you had, even without Section 31, you had the entire that two-parter with Homefront in DS9.
Yeah.
So all these things can still happen without having an organization that essentially is lawless.
Yeah, the Men in Black.
Yeah, and the more that they brought in Section 31, it's just, I think the more if they had just left it in maybe that one episode, then it would just be, okay, this was weird and mysterious, and we don't know anything more about it. But the more it came, the more it sort of got integrated into Starfleet as a whole. And then so, like, what exactly is, like, what then is Starfleet? If they're, and it becomes sort of a, also like, Section 31 was responsible for the changeling virus. So Section 31 wanted to blow up Kronos in the Discovery. So it's like every time you've got a war, at the end, it's like Section 31 comes up with, we've got a little apocalyptic device you can use. Maybe you want to use that. So it's like, so yeah, so I'm not, and I would, and I know people often compare it with the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order. But if you see Inquisition, Section 31 is even worse, because if you live in the Romulan Empire or the Cardassian Union, you know that the Tal Shiar or the Obsidian Order might come after you. But clearly, even if you're a high-ranking Starfleet officer, you don't know Section 31 even exists. And you might get picked up and taken out. And if they had thought that Bashir was actually a traitor, they would have just disappeared him? So it's like, this is an organization that people don't even know about. Unlike the Tal Shiar, that you've got to be scared of them. So that's my thoughts.
I really wish they'd kept it as a very small group. Maybe not just Sloan, but a few, few people. And this is sort of like they feel like they're protecting the Federation from threats and whatever. But not something where it's like this is officially sanctioned. And as it's grown, I believe it has become a problem where I didn't feel like it was a problem in DS9. Because there was a question in DS9 almost until the very end of whether Sloan was just one guy acting on his own and whether there was an actual organization or not.
Right.
And so like I felt like if you kept it small, at least you could justify it as maybe these are people just acting on their own and they just know secrets where they're able to, they're able to use people as assets because they have leverage or whatever on them. But those people aren't actually members of Section 31. They just owe favors to Section 31. And I feel like it works better.
Kingsman, like a Kingsman setup, unofficial intelligence group.
Right, exactly. And so like I feel like that would have worked a lot better. They just kept it that way instead of, and this always happens, and it happens a lot in Star Trek where somebody will have a great idea and then somebody keeps using that idea. I mean, I'm going to use the Borg as another example. The Borg were a great idea, but the more they do the Borg and the more they double, triple, quadruple down on the Borg, it's like so much garbage gets thrown out there too, where it's like, guys, you're weakening how cool the Borg were, how much of a threat, how scary they were by constantly.
I still love the Borg. Shut up.
I think one distinction from Enterprise, though, is that this is the pre-Federation. Section 31 is the United Earth organization, not a Federation one or Starfleet one, United Starfleet one.
That's true.
So it's acceptable, more acceptable there for me personally.
The other thing I did want to bring up, though, is that this notion that it has to be the way that Gene Roddenberry wanted it.
Yeah.
I have problems with that in the same way that people say, well, they've almost deified the founding fathers of the United States, and it's like, well, it's what they wanted or whatever in the Constitution. And it's like, they created the amendment process for a reason. They knew that they weren't perfect. And they knew that people might come up with things in later years where it's like, oh no, actually, like, we've got to change some of this. So even they didn't feel like, oh, the things that we're setting down here like are perfect and should never be changed. And I know that Roddenberry, as he got older, became more like entrenched in his ways and sometimes was against things that he was for in the original, like the whole thing, like they talk about it in some of the the behind the scenes stuff in Next Gen. He was like, oh no, like Starfleet officers should never, like, all conflict should come from outside, it shouldn't be within Starfleet. And it's like, well, in the original series there was plenty of conflict among Starfleet officers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like, though, I mean, the fact of the matter is he's gone. He has passed on, and the property should be allowed to grow beyond what he envisioned, because times have also changed. And we're progressing through time. There are ideas that he might not have thought of, and I don't like. You can argue against it for other reasons, but I don't feel like Roddenberry wouldn't have liked it as a legitimate reason, to say that something shouldn't be in Star Trek.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, like this TOS got worse as Roddenberry's control weakened, and Next Generation got better as Roddenberry's control weakened.
Exactly.
And I think interesting too. I think what Assad said also. I think it really, we're slightly different, but I think we're all kind of on the same thing. I think what Assad ultimately said was, if it was a one little thing that was clearly still considered somewhat of an aberration, it's okay. And I'm the same way. I think a Section 31 would exist, but yeah, like you guys are saying, but when it was like, because they thought it was Sloan. They thought he was some psycho. And then you find out Admiral Ross knows into it. It's like, okay, so it's a little bit more, but it was still considered a fringe thing. Yeah, once it becomes official and you're taking a Starfleet officer and detaching her to it, and we'll have to talk about Chaos Goblin later, then you're like, this is too much. And even then I would have to agree. It at that level it doesn't make sense. But I agree with you, Nate. And I don't think it should be adhere to what Roddenberry said, because he did get really, really, really focused on how we were going to be perfect in the future. And there's a lot of things that he decided I didn't like because of that.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have had Deep Space Nine at all if Roddenberry had remained in charge, because he didn't believe in interconnected storylines. He only wanted standalone episodes. The idea of just being stationary, he wouldn't have liked. Like there were so many things he wouldn't have liked about it. So, and DS9 is my favorite of all the Star Treks. So I mean, that's
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah. So let's talk about Georgiou. And I'll start off with this one. I didn't think much of Captain Georgiou. The first two episodes of Discovery I didn't feel like were particularly good, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, and then they kill her off, and I'm like, oh, okay, she just existed to start Burnham off on her path, and okay, blah blah blah. And then when they introduced Empress Georgiou, wow, like as far as the performance, Michelle Yeoh, I felt like was a tour de force with Empress Georgiou, and I loved all of her interactions on Discovery, like when she became part of the crew, and all of the things between her and Burnham and the other crew, like how she slowly got to respect Saru. And there were so many really great character beats that I felt like they did with that, and I was really taken with that character. And when they wrote her out, it was only because but I found out it was good to launch her own series. I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, but at least we're going to see more of this character. To me, the biggest failing of this movie is that we're back to Captain Georgiou. Michelle Yeoh was so plain in this. Like, it really bothered me, because even though they said, oh, she did all these atrocities or whatever, there's never a point in this where we're like concerned that she's going to do the wrong thing. Or
I find it really disappointing how the Terran Empire finds their emperor by basically the Hunger Games, just with psychopaths.
Yeah, that was going to be in my plot issues, but yes.
It's just it's psychotic Katniss Everdeen.
Right. Yeah. Let's
And then her
traumatize
family
the
has no
person.
idea that they murder their own family to become
Yeah.
emperor. Like,
Right.
how long has the Terran Empire been doing this? Like, it's the
Right.
tradition.
Let's traumatize
Didn't
someone,
they
then
know
put them
this?
on top, and they're not going to murder the people that force them to do all these things. Like, it's just it makes no sense. I mean, the whole thing was.
I mean, do you get to volunteer as tribute?
Right. It makes no
How do you
sense.
get picked? What's your
'cause I mean-
selection criteria?
Because I mean, of course, the first thing I would do upon being made emperor is to, and after I've been forced to kill my family, would be to murder the people that just forced me to kill my. I'm in charge now. You're all dead. So I mean, why would you even create a system like this? Like I. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I feel like, and again, it's not her, it's the material. They did not give her any material to really. She mouths things about having done terrible things or whatever.
Right.
But the interesting thing about her character was that you were never quite sure where she was going to leap. You weren't sure how much of that, from the Terran Empire was still carrying over with her. And it just felt like in this movie that I didn't have any of that nuance at all. Like she was pretty much just a virtuous character in this. There was never a point when I was like worried that she was going to do the wrong thing. I just didn't feel any of the snippy, snarky stuff that she had. There was like not a lot of that interaction that was very good, that witty banter that she was good with. Like none of that was there. And I am so disappointed because this was supposed to be the vehicle for her. Like this was supposed to be originally her show, but now her movie. And I felt like they didn't do anything to make her shine.
But she did tell them, I can kill you all at a moment's notice, or whatever the thing was. Remember that?
Yeah.
Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I guess she had a couple
I guess they
lines.
implied she had murdered the previous owner of the bar,
Yeah.
of the cantina.
I wanted something more for her, and I didn't get it. And I am to me that is my biggest, because what I kept telling people was like, even if the plot for this movie is horrible, we're gonna see Michelle Yeoh being awesome, and that's all I care about. All I want is to see her being awesome, and I didn't even get her being awesome.
Yes,
No, this was
agreed.
some of her worst acting ever. And I don't know if it was just her phoning it in, if it was the director was that bad or what, but oh my gosh, there were some lines that she delivered like she was reading them off cue cards off on the side, and that's not how she usually is.
I'm imagining somebody standing off stage with a gun pointed at her head, being like, "You will be in this." She's like, "I can't deliver these lines; they're atrocious." And just like, "You will do this."
I do think it was. I think it was bad. And these writers, even though the people behind it we know have had experience in Discovery, they came off as complete newbies because when they even did the name with was it Madame de France or whatever, and she kept speaking French. It's like, dude, this is like a really bad riff on every World War II movie I've ever seen, and so that came off as really clumsy, just clumsy. And you're right. You're right. She was overacting. She took the arch thing. She walks down the stairs. They showed the high heel, high platform shoes. She was acting like Eartha Kitt playing Catwoman in the Batman series from the '60s, and that was supposed to be over the top. And I wasn't getting what was going. And she's a great actress.
Yeah, I think it was the weakness of the material, and she was trying to overcompensate in those scenes. I think that she was trying to act in such a way that she could
this subpar script. I mean, guys, come on. She's an amazing actress, and she looks terrible on screen. It's the directing and the writing.
Yeah.
It's not her. It's not. We've seen what she can do. It's not her. She had a director that didn't know how to direct her, and she had writers that didn't know how to write. They're trying to cram in these Casablanca overtones with Ocean 11 character introductions that we clocked because we've been watching movies for the last 25 years. Like there's the overused tropes of heist movies. And I felt like I was watching that episode of Rick and Morty with the heist Rick and Morty, where they're parodying heist movies, and they were like, and the writers watched that Rick and Morty episode and was like, and they missed the point, and they're like, yeah, that's what we should do, and and it's these crazy over the top characters, and everybody's just chewing on the scenery, and it's just it didn't. I don't know. I kind of had problems with Georgiou's character in Discovery when the alternate universe one, she's a homicidal maniac, committed multiple genocides, and then our hero, our person that is our tether to the world of Star Trek, Michael Burnham, says, "Well, she looks like a person that I like," and that redeems her. And then they just like, well, if we just be nice enough to her and show her through example of how to be a nice person, she'll eventually be nice. And what did she do? She threw hot soup at Tilly. Like it wasn't. I don't know. I just never bought the.
It was
Agreed.
quicker, but I feel like you're doing it a disservice by making it that simple, because I do feel like there was more nuance to it than that.
But it's funny when I
it is funny the way you
reduce it.
describe it. Yes,
It's humorous when I just reduce it.
And it does address the issue that a lot of Discovery writers had of coming up with an idea and then face planting.
Right. No, that is true.
I will say I lean a little bit toward Nate with this, Georgiou, but Nathan, I agree with what you said. But however, what Nate is expressing is his concerns for how the show treated her. They exacerbated all of that in this movie. Because, as you said, this movie, my wife was watching. My wife's a Star Trek fan, not a fanatic like, but she always watches it with me. It's like, and at the end, it's like, she murdered her brother, her parents. And then at the end, you're like, she's redeemed and she wants to be redeemed. Like, no, the way you painted it, it just doesn't work.
I was going to give them props originally because I thought, oh, is she actually going to sacrifice herself at the end? Because I was like, even though I haven't really enjoyed this movie, to say that like her act of, you know, of redemption is to kill herself because of all of, like, the blood on her hands by saving just as many people as she murdered by killing herself. I was like, at least that is sort of like a poignant ending, you know, that'll be okay. But then it's like, no, they cheap out of that too. And it's just like, oh, okay, well.
I kept thinking, I hope that they kill her so that we don't have another one of these movies coming.
Right. Well, obviously they're angling for a sequel that's never going to happen. But yeah, the thing I said to my wife was, how did they even talk her into doing this with this script? Like, I'm pretty sure actors are allowed to pass on something. And I'm like, how could she have read that and been like, yes, I want to do this? Like, I don't.
We have a pre-existing contract.
Yep. It was your contractual obligation to do it.
It's funny you say that about her, Nathan, because I agree with you. Because I guess I'm a little bit with Nate on. I never bought the redemption arc in Discovery at that level, based on what they painted her as.
Right.
And then,
they never spent enough time on it. They never spent
exactly.
enough time.
And then here they doubled down on it because they literally said controls. Literally said, even by the standards of that universe, she was one of the worst they'd ever had.
Yeah.
And so everything after, and then to your point, okay, she's been away from Section 31 for a few years, and now she's in a bad movie where she's playing like Suicide Squad stuff, and and then they have her eating an eyeball. Why? I mean, I don't care, but like, what are you trying to say she is? Who is she? She, like I said, like you guys said, she's in a bad Casablanca ripoff. Then she's in a bad Suicide Squad ripoff. Then they don't remind her that she's dangerous because she's eating an eyeball. And then the Camelot keeps saying this stupid stuff like, you scare me. I don't get what they were doing with that character. I just don't understand it at all.
It's the classic movie, tell, don't show.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when she goes back to the mirror,
dangerous. She never showed why she was dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, even when she goes back to the mirror universe after she's ostensibly reformed in Discovery, her first act is a campaign of murder to get rid of all her enemies. The only difference is that now she's realizes that Kelpians are useful as allies rather than as lunch.
Yeah.
Yes. Good point.
She felt sad about it in her redemption arc, and so that she's redeemed.
Yeah. I mean, I was never a particular fan of Georgiou, including Mirror George. I mean, obviously compelling character and acting, but then they probably should have left her behind at the end of season 1. She also, I can't think, people have this fascination, audience has this fascination with these characters who sort of have no rules and they'll just do whatever they want, as opposed to our milquetoast heroes who sort of maybe follow a moral compass. And so even in like Discovery season 3, I thought that they're often using her as a crutch to resolve the plot. Like when they went out to the ice planet, While Saru is trying to negotiate, she just beats everyone up and gets what they need. When they go to Earth, she like beats people up, and they find out what the real situation on Earth is. So it was like, okay.
I guess it's like I enjoyed her so much that I like, and this has happened before where it's like, in shows or series where the character really, because of how they depicted them, was really bad, but then they do the redemption thing that really is kind of easy, but because I like the actor in that role so much, I kind of just let it slide because I like I like the actor in that role, and they're gonna be around more now. It's kind of like, okay, I like this. I do think, though, Nate, that the one thing that I would say to your analysis is that it was very clear, even when she was still in the mirror universe, that she cared about her version of Burnham and was upset that her version of Burnham turned on her. And I think she brings that baggage with her and sort of puts it on the Burnham from our universe. And I think that's part of what that relationship is, and why she does try to change her ways, because she wants a relationship with someone that is something like the Burnham from her universe. So I think that's what that's supposed to be. Whether you feel like they spent the time on it or whatever, it's different. But like, I'm just saying, like, I do feel it wasn't just like magically, like it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna be better. I feel like that they did at least show that it was more specifically because she was broken up about how, even though it's normal in the mirror universe for people to try to execute each other to ascend, positions or whatever. Like, I think she felt like because she had raised Burnham in that universe that she wouldn't. And then she did. It hurt her like tremendously.
And now we know that Georgiou went through the Hunger Games and then killed her family. And yet she's upset by mirror Burnham basically doing the same thing, just minus the Hunger Games part.
No.
Also, apparently more upset by having to kill her, her brief squeeze. I don't know how long those two were together in the Hunger Games. She was more broken up about him than she was about her family.
I think they said something like it was a couple of months. I don't know.
2 years, through 2 or 3 years. Yeah,
2 years. Yeah, she says that 2 years. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, Stephanie just made a good point. Y'all just made another good point, because I was thinking about this. If you look at this TV movie in the context of Discovery, it fails in how it's handling Georgiou. If you come in as a newbie who hasn't seen Discovery, it fails, because in this thing we don't even get the half butt arc you guys are talking about, a redemption and humanity. In this thing, somebody coming in blind sees a woman kill her little brother and her parents, take her lover, put a hot sword to his side, keep him as a slave for decades. And then at the end, we're like, she's redeeming herself because she's felt bad. If you don't know anything about her arc, you don't see it in this movie at all. You just don't see it. And I don't see that. We don't see that arc at all.
And then she's trying to tell him there's a better way,
Yeah, I was like, what? yeah. Oh, I can't wait to get to the end. I can't wait to get to the ending of this, because that was wild.
Yeah, I know that you mentioned Alok before, Keith, but I gotta say his whole origin is like he was taken in by like the genetic Superman, and like so even though he wasn't an augment, they somehow made him an augment or something, and like all that. Like
I think he was frozen.
Yeah. No. I get that. I get that he was frozen and that's how he's still alive. But I'm just saying that he said that like the augment that took him under her wing, like then like somehow like modified him also. Whereas like I thought that they were like genetically engineered from birth. So how did she just make you an augment? Like they don't explain that at all.
I agree. Because I said earlier, I have a problem with needless fan service and callbacks and unnecessary connectivity. That was unnecessary. Who cares? And not only is he an augment, but he's an augment from this time, from the time of Khan, evidently. Why? What was the point of that?
So they can reference Khan.
Yeah, that made no sense.
They wanted all the fanboys to get a little excited for a second.
Yes.
Like, they're talking about World War III and Khan. Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And
they could have had a Brett Spiner cameo, damn it.
Oh, no, another one.
He would have carried the whole damn movie in that 3 seconds.
Oh,
Yet
that's
another
funny.
Soong we've never heard of. The family of clones, apparently.
Yeah. Derek soon.
Yeah, Chad
Charlie
Soong.
Soong.
Bad soon. Yeah.
Joe Soong. Start just coming up with the most mundane names that you
Yeah.
can. But yeah, I mean, I felt like, I mean, because I don't want to take them all individually. I felt like the cast in this were not interesting in any way at all.
Mm-mm.
The idea of like the small creature that like
The
when they had to
Nanokin.
create the suit was an interesting idea, maybe, but the
Mhm.
execution again was so bad, and that
played to
character was
laugh.
so annoying.
Yeah.
And it just I didn't feel like I was interested in any of this cast, and I don't know how you fail on this many levels.
I
Like
know they were
and
like,
just
let's have a
creating
Vulcan, but let's make him interesting. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, he doesn't need an Irish accent or a Scottish accent to be interesting and have, radical emotions.
because I
If
think
he's
about some of the weird alien life they've met in Star Trek before. The idea of a creature that small that's intelligent isn't that weird when we've had
yeah,
like intelligent rocks and crap,
that is like
before in
friends
various
with
Star
that
Treks.
that is like
Already,
friends with bacteria. Like,
yeah, we had the larger
yeah,
version in Men in Black. So
Right.
Yes.
the better
Yes.
version.
But so I'm not
Not
against the
microscopic.
idea, but I just felt like that character was so awful,
Mhm.
and I don't know, I just was not
Yeah.
interested in any of these people. And I feel like Rachel Garrett, again, they did a reference.
They could have
but, like,
renamed her. And it wouldn't have
right,
made a
yeah,
difference.
like there was nothing about her that in any way said like this could have been another Rachel Garrett for all we know. Like you were just saying, like, oh, because she's named Rachel Garrett, she's the captain of the Enterprise C, but we don't even know that. This could be a completely different Rachel Garrett because I'm
Well,
sure
I
other
think
people have that name.
the reason I'm thinking it's that same one because they said at least 2 or 3 times how she wants to be a captain. They kept
Oh
saying
no,
it.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
they very
Right.
definitively said that this is supposed to be the same Rachel Garrett
I understand that that's
in the
was their
publicity
intention.
stuff. Yeah.
But there's
Right.
nothing really to connect her to that. Not that we know much about that character anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree, Nathan. No one held, and when I mentioned Michelle Yeoh and Amari Hardwick, it's literally they are both good enough to just stand there and stare at the screen and hold your attention. And
Mhm.
honestly, the times when they halfway held my attention, I think it's
Mhm.
when he was kind of talking to her about being an augment, and I hated everything about it. But the only thing was they were good actors, and for just a second,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, there's a movie that should have been built around them. Um, the Delton
Yeah.
lady, I don't know what that was about. Yeah, nobody held my attention. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't. Rachel Garrett was such a blank, and I did not see Starfleet in her. I don't get that. And then the whole thing when Georgiou looks at her and goes, yeah, I know you. You're a chaos goblin. I have no idea where that came from. I've seen this thing
There
twice.
was so much anachronistic dialogue and
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like purposely trying to pull you out of the story. They were
Yeah.
actively trying to derail you. This is not
Mhm.
Star Trek. This is not Star Trek. This
Well,
is not Star
the
Trek.
Delton was thrown in there, I think, just to be like, you know what we know about
Remember.
Deltons? Sex.
Remember.
Lots of sex. And
Yes.
sort of reference that, again, to titillate the audience and make them think, is there going to be sexy stuff in here? And then then
Then they blow her up.
right,
So,
then they blow her
it's
up,
like-
and then we see naked Andorians for no reason.
They blew her up because this is a movie where anybody could get killed any moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone could get killed or be naked at any time.
Right. Yeah, that was the
Which is
raising the stakes.
right on Star Trek.
But again, even that, like when you think about movies and whatnot, where you have like a group and one of them dies to raise the stakes, it happens much later in the story. Like you're supposed to start liking these characters, and then you kill one of them off to raise the stakes and teach that the audience that nothing is safe. But they killed her off right at the beginning, so it's like even if we had created characters we were going to grow to like, that was way too early.
Okay, and just let me just say, Mission Impossible first movie, they kill off Ethan Hunt's entire team, and you feel the stakes.
That's true.
And they
That
did
is
it in the
slightly
first
different,
15 minutes of the movie because it was good writing and good directing and good acting. They couldn't pull it off, Frankensteining a movie from a 10 series special event.
Yeah.
They tried to condense. They're like, let's just take the most important parts. They took the top 3 episodes and they're like, oh, the Deltan died in episode 4. I guess we got to kill her in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
And in the Mission Impossible movie, I'd also say that, you see these people actually working as a well-honed team, and Ethan Hunt
not bickering with each other.
He seems to be affected by their deaths.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that a character on their team had died. And like I said, we only watched this movie a couple hours ago.
Wow.
This is the Alpha Squad. This is Squad Alpha.
Yes.
It's like this movie is like that Doctor Who bad guy, the gray aliens that you forgot as soon as you stopped looking at them.
Oh,
the silence.
The silence. This movie is like the silence. As soon as you stop watching it, you completely forget it. It's incredible.
It's a problem. It is definitely a problem.
Well, Nathan, you mentioned that none of the characters were engaging. Was there anybody who was most engaging, kind of, sort of? As in, was there anybody you halfway even liked, or at least curious about?
I think Alok is probably the most likable character that they introduced, but I felt again that it was too formulaic.
Yeah.
And it was, and also it's like, oh, let's start caring because he referenced like the augments and Khan, but it was done to him. He wasn't just one of the, because I think it would have been even more interesting to just say like, oh yeah, I was one of the
generals of Botany Bay
sleepers that was on the ship in Space Seed, and I got to, like, when Khan went into space, I got away before he did his thing with Kirk, and I survived, and I've been surviving all this time, because then
that will work.
Then that gives him a better backstory, even if you're gonna invoke Khan and all that stuff, which is contrived, but it's like, but that gives a better backstory, because then it's like, no, he was an active participant in that, and that then creates that connection they wanted to between him and Georgiou. That it's like, hey, we're kind of the same, because I was also a dictator and also committed
warlord on some backward planet before Section 31 found me.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been actually way more interesting than the little sad boy story that we get.
He said he had a dark. He said he had a
one
dark
character
history.
I did like that hasn't been mentioned yet is Quasi. I actually did like Quasi and Sam Richardson's comedy chops. I think he understood the assignment of his character, and he did it. He did it as well as he could, given what he had to work with. I mean, he was the scared, but he was also the face, and the worrywart and stuff. Someone who never had to deal with direct conflict would live their life, which is the stereotype that Sam Richardson plays in a lot of his movies. But I thought he did well with what he was supposed to do. Like he was supposed to fulfill that role. Now everyone was supposed to do a comedy bit like a Suicide Squad, and it just wasn't executed well because they didn't have James Gunn in the writers' room. That's what I felt like they were going for, was a bunch of ne'er-do-well comedy bits, and they just bounce off each other, and that'd be entertaining. But I think Sam Richardson did a good job as Quasi, and I do appreciate bringing in a shapeshifter. That would make sense in a espionage team. You'd have a shapeshifter. If you could get a shapeshifter, you get a shapeshifter.
I feel like he would have worked better if the overall tone had been more serious and he was a funny coward.
Everything was unserious, so he looked like a normal person.
Yeah, that's
the kind of funny thing I gather from this part of the conversation is that all of you have mentioned comedy aspects of it and such, and comparing it to Suicide Squad, and the entire time I was watching it, all these moments that in hindsight I'm realizing were scripted comedy, I thought was just bad writing. And
it was bad writing, but it was bad comedy and therefore not funny.
Yeah, this makes all the humor in Babylon 5 seem like top-tier comedian now. Because, granted, I went in really trying to... I had ignored so many reviews of it and spoilers and all that type of stuff. I just was constantly avoiding it all. And I went into it thinking, okay, The only person that I've really heard say anything about it is someone who is a complete douchebag to begin with, so his word means nothing. This is going to be way better than and yeah, before it even finished the 8-minute Hunger Games, I was just like, oh my god, what is this?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
And,
sorry, Stephanie.
Mhm.
I was channeling my inner Cybok and I had to share my pain.
but yeah, I totally didn't interpret the comedy as intended to be comedy with anyone
You didn't
except
even clock
for,
it was bad comedy. That's how bad it was.
yeah, with the exception of, oh shoot, I already forgot his name, Quasi. He was the only
Yeah.
one who did get a couple of chuckles out of me.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, all the rest of it I thought was just like the Chaos Gremlin. I just rolled my eyes at, oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, because like the way
That's
a character,
what you're making Georgiou say?
the way that a character like Quasi works is if when the characters do something, because like Star Trek characters are always pulling off things that are supposed to be impossible, right? Like
Right.
there are things that are like, there's no way you can do this, and then they do it. And he that kind of character is the character that like points out how ridiculous like the
Yeah.
stuff that they're doing is, and then that's funny because when everybody else is taking it seriously. And they're like, yes, we're going to do this impossible thing. Like a character like that, that's sort of like pointing out, like, like we're all going to die or something, like, in a better way than that, but, in a funny way, then you laugh as the audience because he's broken the tension of the scene. And that's where I think this was problematic is like they expected this somehow to be funny all over.
Mhm.
And then, so that character didn't work.
Mhm.
I don't know. Does
Yeah.
anyone else have anything that they want to say? Anything about any of the characters? Like, I would have liked to have known more about, and I'm gonna have to look up his name now. Giorgio's former lover turned
Song?
San.
yeah,
San.
San, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So
Yeah.
San, I would have liked to have known more about him because again, I don't think that the actor was bad, but they didn't allow him to have a real character because he doesn't have a lot to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, we'll have to talk about his personality because his character arc made no sense to me. I mean, what his final words. We'll have to get to that. The cyborg guy irritated the heck out of me.
Yes.
But here's when you have to go to context outside of the movie has failed. But I was reading an interview with that actor, and he talked about this whole backstory he built for the character himself. Now, actors often do that. You'll hear so many actors say, I had to build a backstory because they gave me the sketches. But the way I read it with this guy, he had no idea why he was a cyborg, why he had, I forget the term, but it was dysmorphia, and there was a term in front of it where they were basically saying he was confusing his cybernetic parts actually with him. The actor basically sketched out his own character to do that role. And that's kind of scary because he had nothing to work with.
Timu Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
again,
thought he was wasted.
We had all these great effects, and we just have a guy with like black spray painted cardboard duct taped to a lycra suit.
Yeah.
We have all the special effects, and we give this guy, stuff they wouldn't even have on the first, next generation Borg. Like the first time we saw a Borg, and those were pretty bad. Like we could do a better looking Borg.
Yeah, Zeph.
Even if he was, 100 years before the Borg showed up.
Yeah, so Zeph, the interesting thing about Zeph, was the idea of somebody that is putting on all this tech, because obviously in the Star Trek universe, this stuff is all possible, and they could have done something interesting with that. But again, like it was the nugget of an idea that could have been an interesting thing, but because they turned him into a comedic, like, oh, he's the annoying
Can you
character.
check at the door, please?
Yeah.
He's the Chad, guys. Yeah, he's just a dumb, good-looking guy.
Yeah,
he's really strong.
Transhumanism is a thing, but they just justified that the meathead
But this
is
is
a
the
transhuman.
question they don't answer: is why doesn't everybody do that? Like, if you can do it, if it's possible, why isn't everybody cybernetically enhanced?
Right? Because
they don't answer the question.
we've barely ever touched on prosthetics of the future, like Geordi with his eyes and the visor, and then later the eyes in the movies.
Right.
Like that's the only thing we've ever really done a whole lot with in the Star Trek universe, and it would be interesting to explore that. But again, they
do a
didn't.
bit in the lower decks with Rutherford, but
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. But,
Picard has an artificial heart.
Yeah, but I also think the reason he troubled me, one, the character was just too goofy and it just didn't work at all. But the other thing, as y'all were pointing out earlier, does he not stand out for a covert ops team? I mean, that was the other thing. He absolutely, him and the Laughing Vulcan, I mean, they just stand out. And it just makes no sense. You know, again, he would be true Black Ops. He would be the guy behind the scenes to do, I guess if you need somebody to run through a wall, then that's him. But I just didn't get it. You know, it just.
I mean, you do have your muscle guys on Black Ops, like you have your operators, but they can look big, but they still can be unassuming. And
exactly,
I don't know. This movie just needed to be like more serious.
Yeah,
and have Quasi bouncing off of that seriousness, but have your operator, cybernetically enhanced operator, your techno hacker Vulcan, and your seductress Delton, and just like, and then it would have been like a real heist movie. But instead they're like, no, let's just make everything funny all the time, and they all just bounce funny lines off of each other all the time, and you just lose the plot.
Right.
Yeah, you almost I think it was, and this is the thing, because sometimes people look at portrayals like this and they say these people don't know Star Trek. I don't know if they don't know Star Trek, but I don't think they get the gist of it, because, like you said, I noticed, for example, the Delton, she put her mojo on the Vulcan, which we now know is a nanoscopic being inside what was basically, I guess, a straight up robot. And so it's a silly point, but I'm like, what is she affecting? There's no reason why her hormones or pheromones should affect the nanobot guy, the Nanikin guy, and then the body. It just didn't make any sense. And then they killed her. So I was like, what was the point of her there? You know what I mean? That was stupid. The one being that should be resistant to her is that weird parasite protozoan Nanikin guy. Yeah, even he was goofy, and then they killed her off. So I did not even follow that. That just made no sense to me. Because in Deep Space Nine, they always talked about, for example, one of the things about the Ferengi, no one can read their minds because they have that weird lobe brain. And I would have thought that guy among them would at least be resistant. So I thought, I guess something's going to go with that. And then they disintegrated her. So I can't even judge her personality, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think about the plot of like this super weapon from the mirror universe? And we can now travel. There's a certain like anomaly or whatever that opens and closes between the mirror universe.
At a certain clock. Yeah.
Right. Like, what did you guys think about that as just the overall like idea of this movie? Assad, let's start with you.
I really got nothing particular to say about it. I mean, plot-wise, the whole thing just starts off with that only Section 31 can do this because Starfleet has a charter against operating. So does Starfleet have a charter to conduct espionage against the Klingons or something? So it's like, what sort of treaty would prevent a regular sort of intelligence outfit from doing whatever needed to be done here?
Starfleet is apparently horrible at treaties, though, because like the whole idea of like they give up the entire idea of creating their own cloaking device.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who writes a treaty that's like we will completely keep ourselves from a whole branch of research?
We promise we will never develop a cloaking device that we know is technologically possible.
Plot-wise, I can't really think of anything particular that stands out. It's like, I mean, they went from one place to another place. They did stuff, and the movie ended. So
that was a movie. Yeah,
and the credits happened.
I mean, I might think of more things as people actually mention stuff that might jog something in my memory. So,
Stephanie, since you saw this 5 hours ago, did you just have an increasing sense of dread as the movie went on that it wasn't going to get any better?
I just kept hoping that all of my assumptions were wrong, and they weren't.
I know, like the thing to me that was the most hilarious was it's like, oh, we've got to keep like the guy that breaks into the the whole establishment that Georgiou has. We've got to keep his head covered. And I'm like, we've only introduced one character that this can be so far in this movie. I wonder who it's going to be,
Yeah. As soon as I saw the dude with the helmet on, I was like, all right, well, that's the dude that was her servant that she beat in the Hunger Games. And yeah, it was just there was it's hard to even summarize the plot as a thing because it was entirely predictable. And like when they did throw in the augment line and reference soon and all that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no, never mind. I'm not wrong. That's just a little call out. But yeah, for a moment there, I was actually like, oh, are they going to bring Khan again? At least that's something I wasn't expecting here. But no, it wasn't even just falling back on Khan again. It was just a little reference.
Yeah, and regarding contrivances, since it takes up, maybe 15 minutes of this 1.5-hour movie, what was the point of the whole phase shifting thing? They could have just gone with the original plan and that instead of like the cyborg coming in and punching the guy, just Georgiou could have just punched the guy and taken the...
Well, with the phase shifting, you can defeat phase shifting if you just make the walls out of the floor. Whatever material the floors are, you can just put them on the walls and then you can't phase through it.
Yeah,
yes.
I brought that up also to Beth as we were watching.
You're like, why are they falling through space?
Just convenient that her boot gets stuck in the wall right at the last minute.
Just gets stuck. And I was like, what? Why is it getting stuck? I think my problem with the plot device, the MacGuffin of the quadrant killing nuclear bomb is that it could have been anything. It didn't need to be a quadrant killing bomb. It could have been the Genesis device. It could have just been It could have just been a planet nuke. It could have been the Section 31 bomb that they planted on Kronos and Discovery. It could have been anything, and it wouldn't have mattered. It could have been a virus bomb that would kill all living things and melt organic matter. It didn't matter what it was, and that's the problem. Because Star Trek, it always mattered what the scientific reasoning was, and then they had the technobabble to explain how they could solve it. It didn't matter in the show what it was. It could have been literal magic. It could have been it's a magic relic.
So beyond the fact that now, instead of there being some sort of crazy transporter thing that causes them to go, or using a wormhole or some other phenomenon, there's now a regular doorway that opens between the mirror universe and our universe. So, but then, like, it's like, oh, okay, there's this horrible thing that will literally destroy an entire quadrant of the galaxy. 1/4 of the galaxy gone. And we send it back to the mirror universe at the end of the movie. Well, we've seen the mirror universe after this. There's still an alpha quadrant there.
Well,
like, the balance of power has changed.
Didn't it detonate, though? It detonated, right? In the portal?
I thought it detonated and closed the portal or something.
That's what the thing at the end was they were destroying the portal with it.
Well, but what was weird, because
I don't remember.
So the explosion has to go somewhere, so it didn't go back into ours, so it must have gone into the mirror universe.
I took it to mean that the explosion wasn't quite as devastating as it had been planned because it was destroying that portal itself.
Yeah,
it was very
so destroying the wormhole people lived in the wormhole.
Yeah, I what they implied was, as you said, it even though it was something that I thought was supposed to kill organic tissue, it somehow had enough energy to close the portal, which they assumed permanently. But the backwash, which hit the garbage scow they were flying, didn't kill them in the garbage scow because the shields evidently protected. So it was really bad.
Like I said, it could have been the Genesis device.
It
could have been Genesis, and they shoot Genesis into the wormhole, and the Genesis matrix collapses the wormhole. I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't. It didn't matter, and that's why
Yes.
that's why we didn't care about the movie, because it didn't matter.
Yes, and to your point, Nathan, I thought the plot was bad because again, they continuously painted Georgiou as a horrible person on the level of Hitler, and then somebody we're supposed to like because she, to your point, she created a scorched earth device at the end of the day, which is spite. If they take her out, she's going to destroy basically all life in the known empire. And then we're supposed to feel sorry for her at the end because then she regretted actually doing it. I just didn't buy it. And then I guess also a plot. I'm still trying to understand the time travel that happened here. I don't know if you're going to get to that or not because I'm completely lost on the time she jumped back and forth in. I don't know if you're going to want to talk about that.
No.
I'm lost.
Talk about it.
I'm lost.
Oh yeah, no. So okay, so she went to the edge of tomorrow. She went to that portal that McCoy went through on the edge of tomorrow, and it gave her a test. And she went back to the Terran Empire, and she felt bad. She felt all these sad feelings about being a bad person in the Terran Empire. She came back, and then she passed the test because she grew as a person. And then she went into the portal, and the portal said, "I will take you to a place and time that you are needed most, and I'll fix the thing where you're phasing in and out of reality." Because remember, she got all
right. It was because that far in the future,
and
the mirror universe is apparently
the Section 31 movie.
Right.
That's what that did.
So here's why I'm lost because we know from the original series. Now I'm going to get detailed here. We know from the original series, Rachel Garrett died 20 years before the time of Picard.
Right.
Picard is depending on what you say because the original series they said the TNG they said it was 78 years after the time of Kirk. If you add the 15 years of Khan, it's like approaching 90 to 100 years after the time of Kirk. Georgiou was her age. We see her now in the time of Discovery, 10 years before Kirk. Garrett, therefore, was the age she's in the movie decades after the time of Discovery.
Yeah.
And if Georgiou got bumped through time, what the heck is going on with San? Because he came straight across. So is he like 100 years old? Just looks really good.
So Section 31 happens after season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, and it takes place a decade before the events of the original series.
Right.
So she is. It happens 10 years before Kirk takes command of the Enterprise.
Right. But Rachel Garrett dies 20 years before Picard, so Rachel Garrett is decades after Kirk.
So I mean, there's two ways to explain this.
I'm lost.
There's two ways. All right. All right. So first of all, Nate, I didn't actually look up the star date. In fact, I'd forgotten that they had actually mentioned a star date. Like, did you actually take the start? You Googled it? Okay.
I Googled it.
And the star date is consistent with it being 10 years before the original series.
Yes, it is the mid 2320s.
Because a lot of the speculation before this came out
2334.
A lot of the speculation before this came out was that it was going to be in the time period between the original series movies and the Next Generation. Like it was going to take like Georgiou didn't return to the time that she left. She returned to a time
post-Kirk, pre-Picard.
Right, post-Kirk, pre-Picard, and that's what people thought because of Rachel
Lost
Garrett
era.
But if the stardate is consistent with it being 10 years before Kirk, there are two possible explanations. Explanation one: this is not the same Rachel Garrett. Like I said, this is not the same Rachel Garrett as the one in
This is Rachel Garrett,
another
Senior,
woman
and there's
named Rachel Garrett.
Jr.
The other possibility is at some point in the future, Rachel Garrett is either going to fall through a temporal anomaly or is going to get frozen or something and will be thawed out at a later time, and then will end up becoming a captain and end up having
it doesn't matter.
It has to, because I wrote the note when I wrote down Control. They said the year 2257, and yet Garrett dies 20 years before the time of TNG. So for Garrett to do that, Garrett would have to be 100 or something.
Could have been 80 years. Yeah,
80 years, and then in whatever time she is in, is it San or San? How was his name pronounced?
San.
San.
I said San, yeah.
Well, he supposedly came straight over from the mirror universe. So even if Georgiou was jumped into the future, he's a really good looking 110, 120-year-old dude. And look, I know he was in the future. Maybe mirror universe people, in addition to having sensitivity to light, live longer than us. It just, it was a bad and easy mistake that they never should have made. And as y'all said earlier, because
there was no reason Rachel Garrett should have been there.
No, I was so bored. I was actually able to nitpick that, because I'm completely lost at the time period.
Well, there's many temporal anomalies as Federation starships wind up in. The idea that she somehow ends up in the future at some point. I don't think that's that big of the Rachel Garrett does. At some point she will skip forward a few decades or something.
But if you leave her out, then San would have to be 100 years old.
But see, that was the thing. So I went into this movie thinking that it was going to take place during that period between the movies and the Next Generation. And so the thing that I had a problem with is that the transporter sound effect is the Strange New World / Discovery sound effect. I
love it. This is great.
I was like, wait a minute, there should be more advanced transporters that they're using. So if it is 10 years before, so that's consistent. They're using the right sound effect for the transporters.
Somebody's a Foley.
You know what I absolutely love? I love when Star Trek fans get bumped on different things. I'm freaking out about Rachel Garrett. Nathan's like, whatever, man, come on. And then Dave's like, no, but the sound, and it's great.
Wrong transporter sound, guys.
No, because there's a very specific
every series has a different transporter
because they're calling back to the sound from the cage,
this is true.
and it makes that really annoying because it's funny because I just showed just with my youngest daughter I just watched the Menagerie with her not too long ago.
The classic
and when they started transporting. She was like, oh my God, they really improved on the transporter sounds,
She didn't like that kind of fairy dust sound.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
But I heard that element within the transporter sound, and I was like, oh, they're calling back to the ones from the cage when they're doing that, and so
that is great. I love it.
For what it's worth, Wikipedia says it's supposed to be the early 24th century. Make what you will of that.
23 something.
The early 20. Okay. So then San is 120 years old.
Yeah, it's a problem either way.
Maybe he also put some cyborg bits inside him. Maybe everything.
Well, I mean, we saw McCoy on Next Generation. And he was 140,
but
150
he was visibly much older, even though. Whereas San looks just like he did when he faked his death. He doesn't look any older than that.
Maybe getting horrific burns on your face keeps you young.
Yeah. Or maybe that poison that he was building the immunity to for all those decades slowed his aging.
Yeah.
You mean the poison? You mean the poison that he just didn't have somebody find a cure to? He just took it for several years to develop like the guy in The Princess Bride who developed a
iocane powder.
The iocane powder. Yeah.
Look, that's how much my mind started drifting when I was like, I
made the Princess Bride joke to my wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I developed an immunity to iocane powder.
Can't you just summarize this entire movie as Inconceivable?
That is the perfect title for this episode. Thank you, Hassan.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk
Inconceivable
about
and for 31. A Trek reference, Wallace Shawn, who played the Grand Nagus, was the Sicilian Vicini in The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And when you want to talk about him, whenever you want to talk about him, because that bumped me like you wouldn't believe him. But whenever you want to get to that,
you're in the final episode.
Yeah. Are you okay talking about it now?
Yeah. Let's talk about the ending.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I couldn't buy any of this. I could not buy this. This man, and I also, it's my second time, and so I went back to check some things.
We're gonna have a support group.
Yeah, I know, right? And I went back and I looked at, she straight up did in the flashback said she told him she loved him. So you assume they were there for lovers for at least 2 solid years. Then she kills her family. She turns on him, and the obvious implication there was that she could have killed him, and they were probably expecting her to kill him. But she did the worst thing you can do to a person. Instead of killing them and breaking their heart, she kept them as a slave. Now, I know we have all seen a whole bunch of stuff where what they could have done was have her and him honestly be lovers and almost equals. I'm going to say this, in the bedroom. That situation. It's happened in history where when nobody's around, she talks to him and he gives her advice. And she's like, look, we got to keep this up because they cannot know I love you. That's not what we saw. When he came in with that stupid God's End or God Send bomb, he's bowing to her and calling her mistress. And then for some reason, she's like, oh, what would you have said if I asked you to run away with me again? Then he fakes his death. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I love you. And she literally, and again, she said, basically, let's run away together. And I'm sorry, my wife and I have been together for 40 years, but if she kept me as her slave for 40 years, it ain't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, for some strange...
she scarred you on your face?
Yeah.
Everyone looked at you like a freak for decades?
What they want you to believe is that she was playing a long con, that she wanted to run away with him, and that she was just like pretending to be this horrible, evil person and committing all the atrocities, but with the long goal of I'm going to run away with him and have this weapon so that nobody will ever come after us because they won't risk us using the weapon. And then because she was also conning him at the same time, because even I guess she thought that even if he knew, like, he would give it away or whatever. So that's what you're supposed to believe. It's insane. Yes. But that's what you're supposed to believe.
Yes, and at the end, she accidentally kicked the sword into his neck, and he died. And then at the last, he literally said, I still needed you, my emperor, my love, because before he died, she taught him that his evil genocidal turn was wrong.
It makes no sense.
Dude, I was stunned. I mean, I didn't even know what to say with that. What? Wow.
My eyes rolled so far backwards.
They ended up in the mirror universe.
I feel like they took the 8 or 10 episode series they were planning, fed it into Chat GPT and said, condense this to 90 minutes. And this is what popped out. And then they didn't even prove it.
True. That is very
because
true. Yeah.
I hope that their original idea for
it's so cliche.
I hope that their original idea for a series had none of this. Like that this was they said 11 ideas, 11 scripts. Like I hope the original idea
of meeting up in a casino, in a space casino, and doing a space heist. Like I said, I'm like, this makes sense on paper. Like the synopsis makes sense. Like I'm like, that would be interesting. A Star Trek version of them being morally, ethically upright people, but they have to do these questionable, dark things. They have to be the bad guy to let the good guys do the good guy stuff, and they struggle with that. But they're consummate professionals, and none of these were professionals. They're all clowns. Even Georgiou, they turned her into a clown, an exaggerated version of herself. Everybody was this over-the-top, exaggerated version of the role they were supposed to play. And they were all stereotypical roles you play in these espionage spy heist movies. But they just were so over the top, it just didn't make any sense. And in the end, it didn't matter. Like, there was no stakes.
I think
tropes and cliches can be used to tell a fun, entertaining story and be used in ways that subvert the trope in how it's usually presented, and none of that. It was
you could play cleverness into it, but it's still the trope
with no nuance.
Probably the majority of Star Trek does use tropes and all. It doesn't go against, but it's just well written, well performed. You enjoy it.
And even when it's not well written, it's usually still at least entertaining.
Yeah, I really feel like, and I think you helped me crystallize this, Nate, with what you were saying. I really feel like the real missed opportunity here is, like I was saying, I feel like Georgiou's turnabout in Discovery was directly connected to Burnham. Since she no longer has Burnham, I feel like they should have made her more dangerous and more like someone who had to be contained, controlled, and directed. But that would have required a competent team around her of people, and to show that, like, when left to her own devices, she will be completely self-serving. So that gets around the whole, like, she's been redeemed thing that we're talking about, how contrived it is, because you show that she is still somebody who's very self-serving and very much into, I will do whatever it takes for myself to survive and thrive. And if your interests align with mine, I'll do it.
Again, it goes back to having a competent team.
Right, but when they don't, I'll go my own way, and so again, they need to sort of contain and control her along the way, and that would have kept the character interesting, and would have created more dynamism here. But again, like, because they're all clowns, and that's that. Thank you for using that term, Nick, because I think that really is the issue: is that they're all clowns and nobody is competent, and that is why this thing. And again, you can do that also, but they didn't have the comedy chops to make
they
that work.
They should have been competent professionals, quasi to be our little random wobbly line. Everybody else straight and narrow lines that fulfill their roles. You had your operator, your tech expert, your sex bot, and your augmented superhuman Ethan Hunt. I mean, he was supposed to be Ethan Hunt, and he did it well. I think he did. Like, he could be Ethan Hunt. He could be 007. But everyone else is just these wavy lines bouncing around off each other. And then they wrote Georgiou as a clown of herself. They just rammed her up to 11, and she's doing these crazy over the top lines. And I think Georgiou, even in Discovery, was as her evil self. She was still toned down a little bit more, but they just took everything that was good about that character, threw it out, turned everything that was not so great, turned it up to 11, and said, "This is what the people want."
Yeah, Nathan, you asked about the end. I thought the ending was a failure across the board. I didn't buy what the whole thing with Sand. It just makes no sense. I didn't buy Georgiou back. Also, in the Back in the Past, which he first.
The betrayal made no sense.
No, it
the
did
betrayal
not.
made no sense.
Not at all.
Why would he want to destroy all organic life?
Yeah, that made no sense, right?
He's organic.
Exactly.
He's driving an organic robot.
But then they threw this weird plot in, which made no sense. Which they said remember they said the Empire the Terran Empire had destroyed all the resources, so they had to that made no sense. Also, I remember the thing that drove me crazy. Now, this almost offended me. Is in the past when he faked his death. Remember, she said something like, "I forbid you to die." And again, it's like, what? So you can make him, I guess you like him coming into your quarters every night, bowing before you, calling you mistress? That was so weird. It just didn't. And then the whole thing with that weird teddy bear that blew up at the end and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I just thought,
again, anachronistic.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Thank heaven somebody had thrown out a toy that had a nuclear bomb as its power.
I will defend one thing that you mentioned, Keith. I think that the idea that they were going for was that, like, the Empire doesn't care about sustainability, right? Like a dictatorship normally doesn't. And so they had churned through all their resources, and we know by the time of DS9 that the Empire has collapsed, which might play into that as the fact that they've used up their resources, and so were weakened, where the races that they had formerly conquered and enslaved were able to rise up against them because they didn't have the power that they had before.
Yeah.
And so they were looking for more fertile ground, and our universe would have been a place they could conquer and take resources from and whatnot. So I did feel like that at least worked as a basis. I had more of a problem of, a portal door that opens and closes to the mirror universe constantly. And again, it takes away the specialness of the mirror universe is another one of those things. It was great the first time it was used. I even feel like they were able to figure out a way to make it work in DS9. And it feels like ever since then, every time we do the mirror universe, it's like it diminishes it a little bit. Like, it's making it too much of a regular thing that we just cross over and do.
I agree.
Even that one guy knew enough to use an ion storm to be able to come across with after having sold. But it doesn't make sense. Like, did San know that Georgiou would want the weapon destroyed as opposed to keeping it next to her bedside table so that she can activate it when the rebels are breaking down her door? It's like,
oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
There's a bunch of things I don't understand about this movie and things that happened in the movie. Like, I was never clear on why they went to that planet in the first place that they ended up being marooned at.
I was really confused by that.
I was like, why did you even land there in the first place? Like, I get, after the ship blows up that they're stuck there and have to find, another way out and all that. But, I was like, why did you even go here in the first place?
Yeah.
That was
because what's funny is that when they go to the planet, and then they go back to the ship to interrogate the guy because they didn't even have to bring him down to do that. So it's like, why? It's to give another excuse to have like another brought back bad memories of the Discovery turbolift fight scene.
Aside, you saying that my notes I kept writing both times I watched this. These fights drag on forever. They must not have any writing plot. Fight after fight after fight. My gosh, a huge percentage of this movie was just a fight.
Yeah.
Well, they went to that planet because they had all those badass pyrotechnics, man. Things are on in the future. That's cool.
In the future, they have flamethrowers behind every panel.
I feel like this might. The only thing I can say in the defense of this movie is only in a we don't know. I'm wondering if this is one of those movies that was completely screwed over by editing. Like, was there really like a nugget of a good movie there that then the editing was so poorly done that like, because again, like somehow Michelle Yeoh had to be on board with this thing and so I wonder if there was a better version of this movie that if they had edited it right, we could have had, but I that's the only thing. It's me grasping at straws of maybe it was just editing bad, like that.
I don't know. He had to fulfill the contract and may as well just get it over and done with.
Plus, I mean, I don't know, like talk about like actors, like how could they do this? They've got money to make. That you said that she doesn't really put her effort into acting in this movie. It's like you watch movies with like Gene Hackman was in like Behind Enemy Lines, and it's like, what are you doing here?
Movies that are made, they do not look and sound and feel like what we see on the screen. Like the view we have from the camera is very narrow. What the actors are seeing is completely unbelievable, and they have to use their acting skills to put themselves into that scene.
Right.
But there's 1,000 people. There's like 20 people staring at them, and there's the camera guy and the microphone guy, and like there's all these people standing around them watching them work. It doesn't look and sound like what we see on the screen. So when they're making the movie, they don't know.
They also shoot a lot more than what we see, and that's what I'm talking about with editing.
Yeah,
I think they got rid of all the scenes that explained things, and that's a problem.
Which is weird because they spent so much of the movie explaining things. They explained their characters twice.
Yes,
twice. They said, "I'm a cyborg." With no brains, and then they go 5 minutes later, I'm a cyborg with no brains.
I think you guys are onto something because in my notes I wrote that too. That this felt like the series Firefly was famously cut up by Fox, where you started with the show in the middle of the show and you had to catch up. But that was a well-written show because Nate, what you said, I kept writing my notes. I feel like I was dropped into the middle of a series whose episodes were never filmed because calling Garrett, and I said Goblin, was Chaos, calling Garrett a Chaos Gremlin. And then when she was in the hole looking for a weapon, she keeps talking to herself like, you got this, Garrett, or something. It was almost like she was enjoying the chaos. Nothing in the movie showed that character. I don't know where that came from. A series or a couple of scenes would have shown that character because that character there, I didn't see that character in the movie, and I don't know where that came from. So I felt like I was dropped into the middle, of a kind of a strangely, bad movie. And I just felt like, and also Nathan, something you mentioned too, Nathan, you talked about James Bond. And, movies like James Bond and stuff, the thing is, they're so good, they're so breezy, they're so whatever, you don't have time to look at the plot holes. When I really looked at this movie, there was no real need for Georgiou.
Yeah.
He said, well, we known where you were. We kept you around because we figured you'd be useful someday. Well, they didn't really need her because if they were already on her station, so they didn't need her to get on her station. She shuts them out. All they had to get that dude, that horribly named Data Node, all they had to do was get him. Well, they could have got him in a dark corner somewhere, knocked him in the head, and stolen the weapon, which he had in a briefcase. And honestly, Georgiou didn't really accomplish anything in this movie but beat up people. There was no real need for Georgiou, the Empress, to have been in this team. She did nothing. And and I saw the hole in there because the movie was so weak. I was able to, that's what happens. Like you said with James Bond, you mentioned James Bond walked into a casino and plays and beats the bad guy at some card game with like 100 people watching. No spy in real life is going to play cards with the bad guy before he has to kill him. But here I could see the whole, like, they didn't really need Georgiou. They didn't need the Empress Georgiou for this whole
Not
mission.
to mention the fact that the original plan was just they were going to detain her and use Quasi to shapeshift into her just to trick the guy.
Right.
Yeah, which they could have done with anybody. I mean, hey, Quasi could have shifted to the bellhop, whatever, just led him into a room again, knocked him in the head, and taken the briefcase.
Now, the fighting you said Giorgio did, that is one of my biggest complaints about it, is that you have one of the most accomplished and awarded and recognized wushu fighters in Hong Kong cinema in the history of the world, and you film her fight scenes like an American action movie with quick cuts, and you don't let her actually perform her martial art that she has spent decades perfecting to an art form, and we get these blurry fights with quick cuts
in high heels.
Yeah, in high heels. Yeah, I mean, she's an amazing martial artist, and she's reduced down to a 90s American action, like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Like, it is atrocious that we took this amazing martial artist and you gave her nothing to do.
Yeah,
nothing.
It's weird, Keith, because you're right. She's not important, except that they built the whole script around the idea of the MacGuffin is from the mirror universe and it's her former love. So it's like they made her important in a way, but she's not important to the substance of the movie. So it's weird, like how it feels like they've just inserted her into it.
Yeah.
But like she doesn't make a footprint, but then the whole thing is about her. So I think that's part of the levels why this doesn't work, is like somehow it just doesn't feel like the elements are meshing together right.
Yeah, and frankly, if it wasn't for her and San, for who a reason I don't understand, took the bomb out of the suitcase, out of the case. If they hadn't fought over it, it never would have been detonated in the first place. So yeah, there was nothing she accomplished, really, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
All right, is there? I mean, I think we've talked about this movie all that it really warrants at this point. I was really hoping somebody would find the diamond in the rough and be like, "Hey, man, this is what you don't appreciate about this thing," but I don't think that's going to happen.
I couldn't.
His wife was fantastic.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Fuzz's wife.
With her southern accent.
Oh.
She's gonna run that varmint down.
That's an opinion.
It is a very facetious opinion.
Oh my god! All right, so does anyone have any thoughts about this that you want to get out of your system before we close out? Assad, do you have something?
It might be kind of weird. I just found myself slightly annoyed that they sort of nullified the ending of Let That Be Your Last Battlefield by having, here's another of those people who's just turned up for some reason. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because it's so funny. I've forgotten all the discussions I was having before this came out because I feel like the movie itself just made all of that stuff moot, because I thought that I thought we were going to get a relatively good movie. And so I was like, there's these things that I don't like about the trailer.
Right.
And I totally forgot about it once I saw the movie and was like, oh my God, what did I just watch?
It was like this thing that reminded me, like, I don't know if anybody has seen the Stallone Judge Dredd, and how familiar you are with if you compare it with the Judge Dredd stories, because there it's also like they throw in a lot of elements and name checks from the Judge Dredd universe. They're just not put together very well. So here also it's like, hey, okay, we've got these, these guys are in all the memes. So let's, the ending of that episode was a real, it had a point to be made, but let's bring in another of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Keith and I discussed this on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Keith? Where you had pointed out that since they were apparently a spacefaring culture, the idea that one of them, got away is not totally outside the realm of possibility.
Right.
I guess I fall on the side of, because I feel like the idea that these are the last two of them and they're going to continue their hatred is such a strong idea that I don't like even though, as you say, it's plausible that someone could have gotten away. I like the poignancy of that ending so much that I don't want to ruin it by saying, oh yeah, there's others, they got away, and they
I agree.
Whatever. Out
And you know what? Even I think Assad and you raised a good point, because even though, like I said, I find it plausible that they could exist in the galaxy, this goes back to my irritation with unnecessary connections. Why was that character there? Because it's like, hey, look at that. They're nudging you. What was the point of that? That was the thing. Yeah, right. It was just there just to be there and bring out one of those and callbacks, and it was just a waste of time.
I know some of the writers that have written for New Trek have actually even said in interviews, I've never bothered to watch anything from original Trek or any of the older Treks. And I'm not saying that this is the case with the Section 31 writers, because I don't know, but I do think a lot of them are just getting information from Wikipedia or from Memory Alpha, which is like the Star Trek Wikipedia, and they're not really going back to the actual source and watching it, because I think they're getting details that are disconnected from the context, and they're just putting things in because they're like, oh, well, I read about this on Wikipedia, so I know about this. But it's but you don't know about all the other things connected to that you got, the article is going to be short, right? It's not going to give you all the details. And I feel like that's why so many of these references fall flat, because they feel like it's just somebody who knows about Trek but doesn't know Trek.
Yeah, I think you and Assad make a very good point, because even if there were some people from Charon who escaped, the tragic history of that planet is not what we saw reflected in that character. I'm not saying that character would be walking around doleful, but yeah, that just didn't make any sense at all. Yeah, I don't even get with that, because you're right, it doesn't fit.
Well, and I'm not even saying there isn't the possibility of an interesting story to find out that more of those people live. But then why put it in if you're not going to examine any of just in the background of a scene or what, that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no point. If you're going to undo an ending like that's so poignant, there better be a good reason and there better be a good story behind it. And there wasn't. It was just the character was just there.
Right.
Well, I read, this is a very interesting I read. And some of the people associated with the show said this is plugged in. And I have my opinions on these things. I'm just going to say this. I lean very liberal. But some people at the show said it was really cool to have a half black, half white alien who coded gay in that scene. And I thought that was a bad way to plug all that stuff in. Because, I mean, seriously?
Pandering?
Yeah, again, I'm a black man. Believe me, I have my strong feelings about representation. But when I read that, I'm like, is this what you wanted to plug in? Because it was a useless character. It was just
we were able to check off 3 identities with one character.
Yeah,
isn't that great?
What? I just it was just yeah. I mean, it didn't bump me so much, but at the same time, because the show was so bad, I just kept focusing on that character. And then I was like, oh, there could have been a better character, because if you're going to have that person from Charon, I'd like to know his history, because like you said, that planet destroyed itself. I'd like to know, are you the last? Is there a colony of y'all hiding out? But we didn't get that. We just got some bad references and some bad jokes. And he flashed the look at Alok and said, ooh. And then he just walked away. And I thought, well, there's more to do with that character than that. But,
I tend to usually be very critical of people who use the term virtue signaling, but this kind of seems to be a time to use it.
Well, because that was truly heavy-handed. Again, trust me, I believe in representation, but it was heavy-handed, I felt.
Well,
and I just
the reason that I said what I said about checking off 3 identities with one is because I know, in the corporate world, they love that. We need diversity. So if we can find somebody that's multiple diverse things, then we only have to make one hire that's diverse. And we can check off, we've got our African American, we've got our woman, and she's disabled. So that's 3 things that we just, that we just crossed off. So we don't have to hire 3 people that are diverse. We hired 1 and we caught 3. And the only
reason I even bring it up is because this was not, this is not somebody on Facebook ranting. This comes from one of the people on the show talking about that. And to you guys' point, I'm like, oh, if this is what you're doing, I don't think you understand the essence of Star Trek. Then if you're just grabbing a character to plug it in, Yeah, that's weak writing. And the guy who directed is a black man, so But yeah, it just. Yeah, I think I continue to wonder if what you said, they had a script. And another thing, I saw Michelle Yeoh do the talk show circuits, and it kind of broke my heart. She was on Dave Letterman and stuff. I mean, Dave Letterman, Jesus, Stephen Colbert, and she was so excited. She is a true fan, and she actually went to a live viewing of the premiere. And I have no idea what that theater was like. She loved it, and they were stunned that they actually got her because they were like, "Oh, you're not going to do this." She go, "Oh, heck no, I'm going to do this, even if I can only do one movie." She 100% was excited to do this movie, and it makes me feel so bad that it came out like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's the issue, right? Like, because they originally wanted to do a series around her, and so like they made a movie just because she's become so busy, but she still wanted to work with them because she could have easily just blown them off and been like, I'm sorry, I'm too busy now, guys. I'm not doing. So that's why I don't think there was already a contract because of the whole negotiation they had to do, even to get a movie out of her. So that's why I'm still confused, like how she read that. That's why I'm thinking maybe the script was better, and just somehow what made it to the screen was bad. Like, it was edited bad, or it wasn't, it was directed bad or something, and so, but we'll never know, because I'm sure we'll never get our hands on the actual screenplay, but, know.
And I think my other thing that I would say is that, like, who came up with that garish promotional scheme? Those backgrounds, those ads, everything was so garish. So it's like, whoa, that's hurting my eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
The tie-in with Rachel Garish. Oh.
Oh God!
Waka waka.
All right. So yes. So that was the Sods thing. Keith, is there anything that you feel like we need to talk about before we put this to bed?
I think two things. Like you guys, I was interested in seeing what they were going to do with a Section 31. I was extremely concerned about a Section 31 series. I love Michelle. I love her. But Section 31 on that level concerned me because I didn't want to see the out in the open Section 31. And I was hoping it was going to be a true covert ops series. If this is what they're going to give us, I just don't want to see any more of it, honestly.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get another installment of this because I have not heard anyone say positive things about this.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's been panned completely.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, when it was going to be a series and it was going to have Ash Tyler in it, I felt like he would have been an interesting addition, because the whole idea of this man that discovers that he's actually a Klingon agent, for lack of a better word, like he was a Klingon that like remade himself to be able to infiltrate Starfleet and everything. Like, there's some meat to that character. There's some interesting things you could do with that. And again, when I talked to Shazad Latif at DragonCon, he was so excited about, doing this, and doing the show. And he's like, yeah, we're just waiting for them to, have the schedule and everything. But, I'm really excited to come back and do the part. And it's just like, and now I just feel so bad for him because he was so enthused about doing that character again. And we don't know what that original version would have been like. I still think it would have been very different from what we got. This feels to me like something that somebody was like, well, crap, it's a movie now instead of a series, and we're just gonna dash something off really quick that'll fit 90 minutes, and that's
Agreed.
Yeah, but whatever. Yeah. But Nate, anything that you wanted to bring up that we haven't?
No, I think I've managed to interject everything out I wanted to say. Again, it's like the
Thank
Flash
you for
movie.
your service.
It's like the Flash movie. They tried to do something really cool, and in a brief like elevator pitch, it sounded really cool, and I was excited. I was like, "Oh, a series? Okay, maybe just like a 4 or 5 episode event, like a short series. Okay, now it's a 90-minute movie. Okay, give me, Mission Impossible, Ocean's 11 in space. I love it. That's great. Those are all genres I love. I love spy movies. I love heist movies. I love space movies. So why not? Why wouldn't it work together? And they showed us why it would work.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing about the Flash movie is that the director has come out recently saying like, "Oh, I discovered the problem. Nobody actually likes the Flash, and so it's everybody else's fault and not my
Ah.
fault."
Like
And
the third most recognizable superhero in the entire world, next to Superman and Batman, and then the Flash. And he's like, nobody likes the Flash.
I think you forgot
Oh,
Spider-Man in there.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, whatever.
I get what you're saying, but I think that the Flash ranks below Spider-Man and Wolverine also. I think he's
And
up there, but not quite up there.
Wolverine and the Flash. No, the Flash in recognition beats Wolverine.
Oh, I don't think
Wow.
so.
Worldwide recognition.
No,
Worldwide
do
recognition.
you not know how like worldwide the X-Men, how popular the X-Men are? Like, and Spider-Man. But anyway, all right, we're not gonna.
But yeah, Flash is recognizable worldwide, but to a general audience, and
right?
It's not
so I was just going to say,
do
you think the director for this? And I looked up his name, and then I decided that I don't want to try to pronounce it in case I'm offensive. But do you think the director of this should come out and be like, the actual problem is nobody likes Section 31, and that was the
or
problem.
nobody likes Star Trek,
right? Like they don't like Star Trek.
Nobody likes Star Trek. No, I think that I question his Star Trek cred. I don't think he understood it to be able to helm it a whole series. He directed some episodes of Discovery, and maybe he directed a lot of them. I don't know how many he directed in Discovery. There were episodes of Discovery that I liked, and there were episodes of Discovery I didn't like. And maybe those are the ones he did. I don't know. But this was not Star Trek. They said Star Trek around it. It has Star Trek wrapper. But when you got into the meat of it, it was not Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that I think we did kind of touch on it, but I want to say a little more firmly is I don't know how to define Star Trek because there are things that people say, there are people who don't accept DS9 because they're not boldly going. And so they're like, well, it's not Star Trek because you're not boldly going.
Staying still.
Right, exactly. So, but to me, DS9 is Star Trek, but I agree. This felt generic in a way that no other Star Trek thing has ever. It felt like Star Trek was just sort of penciled in over generic archetypes.
I told my dad I had this podcast tonight, and he said, so what is it? Why is it so bad? Because your brother didn't like it either. And I said, and I described the plot to him, and he said, "Oh, it's Star Trek fanfic." And I was like, "Yeah, it is. It is fanfic. It is someone who likes heist movies, spy movies, and Star Trek, and then just smooshed them together, made them kiss, and this is what they came up with, and they were a bad writer. Like it's Star Trek fanfic. It's not Star Trek."
Yep.
No disrespect to the really good fanfic people out there. I'm talking about the bad fanfic.
Well, I mean, there's a whole other discussion. I interviewed a writer once who basically started with fan fiction and now writes licensed. He's written licensed Star Trek novels.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you can get there, but there's, what I mean when I say this is Star Trek fanfic. This is not good Star Trek.
Right. No. I'm just saying, like, fanfic, there is something to say for fanfic because it's a way of, like, using already established characters. So you can use work that other writers have already done to sort of start yourself, and then you're just
exactly. I'm not disparaging fanfic. I'm just saying we've all read that fanfic that I'm talking about.
Yes,
we should have another word for it.
No. The broad swath of fanfic is trash.
Yeah. And with the random naked Andorian, it should be like, like AO3 fanfic.
All right, Stephanie,
if you know,
is there anything you wanted to say before we go?
I mean, Nathan, what has been a common thread with me and all the new Star Trek stuff? The hubba that you like to tease me about? Yeah, there was none of that in this. Where was my bisexual gaze, damn it?
You needed some silver foxes, is what you needed.
Yeah.
I needed something. Jeez. They just, they kept
all right. We do this movie.
And
but Q shows up like midway through.
Oh wow!
And he's
That
like,
actually would have made
I'm
the
gonna
plot
make this
make sense.
interesting
That would have made it
now.
make sense.
Right.
It would have helped. It would have fixed all the timeline inconsistencies.
Yeah.
I know how much you like John Delancey nowadays, so.
I never cared for John Delancey before, but nowadays he's much better. Worf would have been fantastic. Eye candy in here.
Yeah, but he would have made less sense as far as showing up, because then the timeline would have been even more out. Like, well, now we have next gen characters like showing up in this. Like, what's going on here?
Well, Worf could have shown up as his judge grandfather, his lawyer
Oh,
grandfather.
right, I guess. Yes, because he's Worf, son of Moog, son of Worf. And everyone should have known that, because his name was Worf in Star Trek VI, that he was Worf's grandfather. Like, I remember having a discussion with my dad where my dad was like, I don't understand, like, Worf was like orphaned at Kittimer, and like he didn't know Kittimer, but he knew like the background of what he's like. I don't understand how he could have been around like in Star Trek. And I was like, oh no, Dad, like he's supposed to be Worf's grandfather, and like that's not explained in the movie. Like it's played by Michael Dorn, and he's called Worf, and of course you'd think, like anyway. I was nerdy and I had read things about the movie before I saw it, so I already knew that there was going to be Worf's grandfather played by Michael Dorn. But it is confusing for a casual fan like my dad, who just has seen the show, to see this in a movie, and it's just like, what's going on? Like, how is Worf there? Like, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, the only thing I'm going to say is this.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that Paramount does not take the wrong lesson from this. Because I already know how they're going to see this. People don't want movies. They don't want Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
That is not what the performance of this movie is saying about Star Trek movies.
Absolutely.
They're saying, give us a well-produced, well-written Star Trek movie. Don't give us some schlock that was either made by AI, like Nate suggested, or is something you like dashed off during 30 minutes on the can, or what, like put some actual effort into it. I mean, to me, like the lowest like deep franchise writing ever has been like the Star Wars prequel movies, and somehow this undercut those. And I'm just like,
agreed.
Oh God.
Agreed.
So yeah, it didn't feel like Star Trek. It didn't feel like it served Georgiou, which this was supposed to be a vehicle for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it failed on like every pot. It wasn't an interesting story in its own right. It wasn't a Star Trek story. It wasn't a Georgiou story.
Yeah. And no surprises, as Stephanie said. No surprises it held at all, because you saw every beat coming. As soon as you saw the dude in black with the phase thing, I bet I know who that is. Yeah.
Right, because why are they keeping the character's face covered unless it's somebody we've already seen, and therefore there's only one possible person it could be?
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't know that. You don't know that. Come on.
All right.
We were supposed to think that was Ash Tyler.
Oh, that does hurt me that I knew he wasn't going to be in this, because I might have if I hadn't known he wasn't in this.
That would have been something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we've beaten this thing to death. That's where it shall remain. Never to be spoken of again.
Yeah.
All right.
Disintegrated like Mel.
Have fun editing this one, Nathan.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's say goodbyes. Let people know where they can find us. So let's start with you, Keith.
You can find me primarily. I'm with the Earth Station Track. It's a part of the Earth Station group by Mike Faber. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we review something going on in the world of Star Trek, either a series that's out or a movie, or then we just have Star Trek conversations. We are currently discussing What If, which is what if, the standard what if Captain Pike had stayed on the Enterprise, blah, blah, blah. So we're doing that this week and next week. And we are also writing a book that will be coming out in the next couple of months, a series of essays on how we all feel about Star Trek.
Awesome.
Very cool. Now, but I have to ask, they already did that in the show. So how are you doing a what if Captain Pike had stayed on the Enterprise? Because they already showed us.
Yeah. Oh, it got really complicated. You know how it goes, well, what if this and this happened and he didn't get injured? And what if this? I mean, so we start, because I've always said it's not the mirror universe, it's a mirror universe.
Mm.
So we started going down the other mirror universes that could exist out there.
Mm.
Fun times.
All right. But yeah, thank you for being on the episode this week.
Yeah.
Keith.
Thank you. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy doing this. I watched it for you, Nathan, because I finished it 10 minutes before the show started.
Oh, okay.
Oh, jeez.
But I'd already seen it. So.
Oh, okay. All right, Nate.
So I don't really. I don't have another podcast, and I don't really post on social media anymore. So I will plug Marvel Rivals. It's really fun. I never played Overwatch or any of those other types of games, but it's a third-person fighting game where you fight 6 players versus 6 players, and you play Marvel characters, and they fight each other. And the gameplay is really fun. I'm terrible. But I've never had more fun losing to a 12-year-old calling me all sorts of names. It's a lot of fun. It's just fun to play. And they just released today, with this recording, The Thing and Human Torch. And I had a lot of blast just playing, The Thing, doing clobbering time and just punching people and this ability, he runs, and when he hits another character, an enemy character, they just shoot up straight up into the air and they're stunned for like 3 seconds, and that's really fun. So you just run around in circles and just
Did they
stun
just add
people.
the thing to this?
Yeah, they just added The Thing and the Human Torch today, so all 4 of the Fantastic Four are now playable on Marvel Rivals.
Okay, the reason I asked that is I got a text from a friend saying, "Dude, it was a picture of the Thing." And I figured it must have been in a video game. I didn't know what he was talking about. Okay.
Yeah. It just got released today.
Okay.
I decompressed after watching Section 31 today, and played The Thing and just clobbered things, and it was a lot of fun. And when we stop recording, I'm gonna go play The Thing again.
Well, I'm glad you had some therapy after this, and thank you for being on the show, Nate.
Yeah.
All right, Assad.
Well, I'm on Facebook for the moment, and also there's a semi-monthly Doctor Who podcast, Police Box in a Junkyard, part of the Direction Point network. So you can hear more of my nonsense and a couple of other people who have probably better opinions than me. And so that's pretty much where I am.
All right, very cool. And my claim to fame there is that I actually named that podcast for Eric, who runs that podcast.
Oh, I'm not sure I actually do that. Okay.
Yeah, because
you.
he already had the Video Junkyard podcast. He's like, I want to do a Doctor Who podcast, and I'm like, well, since your other podcast is Video Junkyard, and of course, Junkyard, famously, the TARDIS was first seen in a junkyard. I was like, it's the Police Box in a Junkyard podcast. He's like, that works. So, yeah.
Well, tonight has made me realize I also need to find some way to discuss Star Trek more regularly, too.
Yeah, my problem is I have too many interests. That's why this show is I talk about anything, because I want to talk about all of it. So, yeah, but it's good to have you back. Thank you for being on the show, Assad.
Thanks for having me.
And Stephanie.
Well, you can find me on any episode of the 42 cast that's about Star Trek or Babylon 5. Otherwise, it depends on what you want to follow me for. I am hit or miss on my productivity on social media, but if you're interested in cosplay, and I go to conventions for craftsmanship judging where I'm one of the judges and stuff like that, you can find me as either El Crea or Lady El Crea. And if you're more interested in my writing and following my woes of trying to get myself published without doing self-publishing, because I hate doing the self-promotion part, you can find me under my pen name of A.K. Stevens, and that's Stevens with a PH. So, yeah, that's where you'll find me sometimes posting on Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook. I don't know. Social media is a mess right now, so who knows where I am. But those are the most likely places.
All right, Stephanie, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for coming with me on a journey with all the Star Trek stuff, no matter how good it is.
Or bad. Apparently, we're worse for Star Trek now.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And,
thank you.
Yeah.
Still fun to talk about.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had a blast with all you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Same here.
Okay, that's a wrap on Section 31. What did you think about that movie? What do you think about Star Trek under Kurtzman? What do you think about all the news circulating around right now that there are no Star Trek series in production and it's the 60th anniversary? Do you think that Paramount is going to open their own Star Trek studios like has been rumored for a while? And what do you think about that? Do you think it's time for a new guard to take over from Kurtzman, or do you want Kurtzman to continue producing new Star Trek? We want to hear from you, so you can let us know in a whole bunch of different ways. One way is to email us at everything@42cast.com. Another way is to go to our website, 42cast.com, and leave us a message on any of those episodes. You can go to our Facebook at facebook.com/42cast, or you can go on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at 42cast and message us in any of those places. You can also leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. With Apple Podcasts, though, the more reviews we get, the higher we show up in searches. So if you have an Apple account, and if you haven't given us a review yet, we'd really appreciate if you would do that. You can help out the show and all the shows on the ESO Network by going to the ESO Network Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/ESO Network. You get different perks for different tiers. You can get access to early episodes of some shows, exclusive episodes of some shows, and a whole exclusive ESO Network podcast that's only available to patrons. So if you have the funds to contribute, and if you would like to do so, we would greatly appreciate it. I have to eat a little crow right now because I had promised that I was going to take time off, which I did, to get Time Streams and Legendary Forces off the hiatus. The problem is, as usual, too many things took up my time during the week. Things that I had to do for other people. And so, because of that, I did not get the me time that I thought that I was going to have. And so, neither show is off of hiatus yet. So, this is starting to become my white whale. I am getting somewhat annoyed about the lack of time that I have in my life to take care of those. But I live in hope, and I will continue to look for opportunities to take care of that. So, keep watching this space. For those joining for the first time, and I'm so sorry if this is your first episode of the 42 cast, that it's this topic, but Time Streams is a Doctor Who podcast that I do, and Legendary Forces is a Star Wars podcast that I do. Both of those are on hiatus right now. I have like 8 episodes recorded for both of them that just need to get edited, and to get the 42 cast back on a weekly schedule, I kind of had to give up on editing those. And as you can see, lately I've had the odd miss even with the 42 cast, so things are kind of tenuous at the moment. But I am hoping to get back on track with editing those. In Watch News, Beth and I are still watching Shrinking and Paradise, but we have started the live-action One Piece, really enjoying that. I've actually started showing Beth Gravity Falls, which I have seen already. My daughter Rachel introduced it to me. We watched through all of it together, and now I'm watching it through with Beth. So I'll let you know what she thinks of it. I think it's one of the best written cartoons of like the last decade. I'm not a big fan of American animation past like, I don't know, 2005 or so. I feel like a lot of it has become very random and the humor doesn't really work, but I really like how well and intricately written Gravity Falls is, where there's stuff sort of peppered through from the very beginning that doesn't come together until the end. So even though it is like a silly show for kids, with a lot of that kind of slapstick humor and sort of the, you know, kids humor, stuff that would be appropriate for kids, there's like a deeper level for adults, which is always my favorite kind of cartoon. So I'll let you know how all that goes. No change in con news. Probably only going to go to Chicago TARDIS, but keep watching this space in case any of that changes. And that is a wrap for this week. Join us back next week when ChatGPT will not be joining us as we discuss the perils, pitfalls, and possibilities of AI. So until then, this is Nathan signing off. You have been listening to the 42 Cast, copyright 2026. Got a question for the ultimate answer? Contact us at everything@42cast.com. Theme music is Sharper Swords by Brandon Ellis. Check out more of his work at www.cityfires.com. The 42 Cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.